got one shot. We've got one shot just to feel alive. We've got one shot. Yeah! We've got one shot. Do you feel alive? Get in, get out. You know that we won't back down to feel alive. Waiting for the chance to show the world who we are. We've only got one shot. Whoa. We've only got one shot. Whoa. We've got one shot to make it count. Waiting for the chance to show the world who we are. We've only got one shot.
Well, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world, and welcome along to the Creator Series. We're here for the Season 5 playoffs, a fantastic end-of-season event to determine who goes up to Formula 1 and who ends up in Formula 2. Alongside me to help call all of the action this afternoon, I have the fantastic Tom Wilkinson. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for the glowing introduction. I'm very, very excited. Different kind of format this evening, and hopefully it throws up a few spanners in the works. I think it should be really good fun.
Indeed it shall. Obviously, a little bit of a different lineup to how we usually run these Creator Series events. It's a one-shot qualifying session to start everything off, and then it is 5 25% races in a mix of the F1 and the F2 cars.
I think, yeah. We're going to see those ebbs and flows, aren't we? Because we've got people in F1, people in F2. They're going to be very used to driving their own spec series. And we have seen a few times people switching between them on a couple of occasions. But yeah, when they're put in some unfamiliar machinery, we could be seeing some very, very interesting goings on.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And to help us go through all the behind-the-scenes action today, we have the gentleman who sang the intro song. You all know him, F1 Scott. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm happy to be in here filling out Clipbook Scott. That's what they're going to have to start calling me. I love it. This is going to be quite an interesting thing. We're putting people into F1 cars. They're going to get just enough time to get used to that car. Then we're going to throw them into an F2 car, and then it's going to be a bit chaotic in the first few laps, seeing who can adapt. Obviously, the F2 guy is going to have a little bit of an advantage here. This is kind of banging. Like 4v4. Who's getting the F1 seats? Who is getting the F2 seats? I cannot wait for the next few hours of entertainment.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. A lot of drivers not used to driving the Formula 2 cars. That's where the F2 drivers from this season might have the overall advantage. But then again, the F1 cars are a completely different kettle of fish. So it'll be a real interesting event for the next 5 races. We do start our entertainment of the world here in China in the Formula 1 cars. And we're about to head over for a one-shot qualifying session. Tom, how does this affect their mental state going into this qualifying session?
Well, one-shot qualifying is always so difficult, you know. If you invalidate very early on, which it is possible to do around China, there are a couple of corners that the drivers are going to have to be aware of in particular, and especially the snail section, turn 1. That is a horrible sequence of corners. But yeah, if you get it wrong straight away, it's a bad omen to start off your evening. But like we've said before, long way to go, 5 races, 5 chances for everyone to get it right.
Absolutely correct. And obviously starting in the F1 cars here at China, no one has a teammate, so no pit stops necessarily to contend with throughout the races. But I think the key thing for 90% of our drivers will just be avoiding damage. They can't afford to take a pit stop here in the 25% races.
Absolutely. If you're thrown out of it within 1 or 2 laps, you're gone. You're going to be taking home minimal points from the event, and that is a lot of work to do. In the coming couple of races, we are ready to go, though, and we are looking at curbs. Who do we think is going to be strong? Obviously, we've got the mix as curbs goes a little bit deep through the snail section of 1 and 2. Going to have to be looking at the likes of Hayden Gullis, finished second in F2, of course, was in the championship hunt all the way until the end, but a difficult finale pace-wise, meaning that he did miss out to Unstopped Rob, of course, who will be in F1 next season. Currently, Matty D13 leading the way, though, in the lead, ahead of Ches in the Aston Martin car, and those two are actually swapping positions there.
Yeah, it is tight and technical through the first few corners here in China. A lot of opportunities to get it wrong. They've got to be careful not to invalidate the car, of course. That will throw them right down to the bottom of the order. And this will set up an interesting first race here. Obviously, finishing results here will determine where they start in the F2 cars around Austria. So this could be a crucial first race for a lot of our drivers. Sneaking up there, I'm just going to say, is F1 Alex, getting a little few moments in the spotlight in pole position. El Taco Man unfortunately retires. Not quite sure what's happened with him.
Yeah, disastrous stuff. Was in 8th place anyway, the Haas driver, but yeah, resigns himself to the back of the pack. Really impressed with Ches here, though. Currently leading the way with just a couple of corners to go. How's he negotiate the turn 14 hairpin and then the kink of 15 afterwards? Leading the way comfortably, it seems, out in front. This would be a little bit of a shock start to this evening's proceedings if Ches can negotiate the final corner pretty neat and tidy. Is it going to be the Aston Martin that takes it up to the line? Yes, it is. Chesnoid Gaming on pole position.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the chat surprised by that. Tom saying, bro, imagine if Ches got pole. Well, he's only gone and done it. It is the Aston Martin starting on the front row, and just 0.04 of a second behind is the former F2 driver of F1 Alex TTV as well. Curbs taking P3, Matty D taking P4, Dale in 5th, Punju in 6th. Hayden Gullis in P7, a surprising qualifying result there from Hayden, and obviously El Taco Man, who did retire early from the qualifying session. But that's how our drivers will line up for race number 1. Any standouts there for yourself, Tom?
Well, it's got to be Ches. I'm looking towards the bottom, though. Hayden, huge shock down in 7th place, slowest of all, and 3/4 of a second back. I'm a big fan of this order, just half a tenth covering first and second. Curbs pretty competitive in there in P3 as well, just ahead of Matty, and then, as you said, Dale and Punju just behind. This is, yeah, not what I was expecting, but I am very much all for this.
Yeah, this really sets up a fantastic afternoon of racing. 7 tenths separating the entire grid in a one-shot qualifying. That's impressive alone in a short quali or a full qualifying session, but to do that in a one-shot qualifying session, very, very impressive from our drivers.
Absolutely. And you have to remember as well, one-shot qualifying, you get no preparation time at all. Obviously, they would have been practicing beforehand, but got to be straight in there on the pace. Ches certainly was. Hayden certainly wasn't. He'll be starting on that back row.
Indeed, maybe tactical from Hayden there, looking to make his way through the grid to make a good show for everybody watching in the chat. If you are indeed watching along from wherever you may be in the world, do chuck your predictions in chat. Who do you think is going to win race number 1? We'd love to see them, and we are watching. I think there's a lot of people liking a lot of different people.
Absolutely. I'm seeing that Rob enjoying the early demise of his former championship protagonist, or championship rival, I should say. So, yeah, interesting stuff there. Getting ready to go, though, for the formation lap. Obviously, 25% race, 14-lap sprint, effectively, to the finish. Half what we are used to in the F2 scene, of course, and obviously a quarter of the F1. Interesting to see what tyres people go on as well. You can see Ches there on the soft tyres. Will we see a little bit of a mix going on? Well, yes, exactly 50-50. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, really interesting strategy calls. Obviously, no mandatory pit stop requirement here, I believe, as we head through the session. So maybe some drivers hoping to last it out a little bit longer than others, but Chesnoid Gaming will lead the grid away on the soft tyres. Just behind him, Alex, looking to go a little bit longer.
Absolutely, and I do think that we do have a mandatory pit stop. F2, obviously, we don't, but F1, you do still have to use both tyre compounds, I do believe. So we should be seeing that switch probably around half distance, to be honest, unless we see an early safety car. So I might, try something a little bit different, maybe someone out of position. Be interesting to see how many places Hayden can make up on this opening lap. Got to get through Punju and Dale, who are, of course, on the soft compound tyres like we just saw. So going to be difficult for him to make progress early on, but should come back to him later on.
Yeah, of course. Just to clarify for people in the chat, it is 4 drivers, so our top 4 from these 5 races will have a seat in Formula 1 next season. The bottom 4 will be either relegated or remain in Formula 2. That's how it's going to line up for today. And going into next season, it could be really, really interesting depending on how it all pans out this afternoon.
Absolutely, and like we've already seen, some shocks on the cars. I've been looking at previous results. Obviously, we raced at 4 of the 5 circuits we're going to be going to this evening in the main season. And, well, Ches picked up an 11th place in the F1 series, so it's one of his better results and a track that seems to suit him pretty well. And he's carrying that momentum through, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, and an early team radio coming in from Hayden Gullis as well, saying, I'm so slow at this track. well, we saw him qualify P7, maybe race pace a little bit better than his qualifying pace, but a lot to do here for the Ferrari driver.
Absolutely, yeah. And Hayden, I'm surprised he has said that because in the F2 series he picked up a couple of second places. So yeah, obviously struggling with that adaptation from F2 to F1. But we are lining up on the grid. I think we're getting ready to kick off this evening's action.
We are indeed. It's Chesnoid Gaming who will lead our drivers away. F1 Alex just behind him on the right-hand side of the grid, the inside line into turn number 1. We wait for the lights to go. Little bit of a camera issue there as we do wait on the grid. We've got 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And for round 1 of the playoffs, we are racing in China. Chesnoid gets a fantastic pull away. So does Matty D in P4, running down towards turn number 1. Now they go. They're going to go 3 wide. We get a horrendous camera angle as they go around the right-hander. But it's Chesnoid who leads our drivers away down the inside, but goes F1 Alex trying to hold on to that P2, but Curbs immediately on the charge with those softer tyres. F1 Dale getting involved now as well, trying to push those drivers through. Hayden Gullis has fallen all the way back to P8 from that race start, so really showing that he doesn't have much pace, and it's all gone wrong for Curbs down there. He's missed his braking zone. The Williams driver dropping down to P5, and that's not what you want from this race start.
Yep, terrible start from Curbs there, making a little mistake. Got a little bit too over-ambitious trying to get past F1 Alex. Hayden was just going a little bit too wide into turns 1 and 2. Got caught up on the grass on the outside, slipping from 7th down into 8th. A lot of jostling for position. Matty D13 dropping back behind Curbs there in 4th and 5th. F1 Alex lucky to hold on to 2nd place because he did get a pretty terrible start.
Yeah, he really got a poor start off the line on those medium tyres, but he's now starting to make them work, getting a little bit more heat into them as we round turn number 13 down the long back straight that they have here in China. A few cars getting a little bit wobbly out of that corner, but it is still Chesnoid who leads this race at the moment on the soft tyre. The gap not too much back to F1 Alex, only 0.05 of a second, but I think that might be wrong. There is definitely a bigger gap than that back to the Mercedes driver as we come round to finish lap number 1 of 14 here, and this is going to be Chesnoid's race unless anyone could do anything about it.
Yeah, he was probably dreaming of what the ideal scenario would be, and this is exactly that. That beautiful British Racing Green Aston Martin comfortably leading the way, probably not by 1 minute 37 seconds. Is this a move up the inside for Dale? Overly ambitious into turn 1, but gets it done very nicely, and F1 Alex drops down into 3rd place there. Got a couple of cars right on the tail of that Mercedes as well, but Dale, nice start getting up into 2nd and can try and chase after Ches, who of course was his teammate for the main F1 series.
Indeed he was. F1 Alex looking a little bit wobbly on those mediums, so maybe not firing up quite as much as he wanted. We'll ignore the delta in the top left-hand of the screen. Chesnoid is not, as much as he is pulling away from this grid, not pulling away by 1.3 minutes at the moment. But F1 Alex still on that charge. He's got Curbs behind him on the soft tyre as well. That Williams looking very racy now. He's got himself comfortable round this Chinese circuit. And the Williams, I think, will have to try and make a move early to make sure the tyre advantage pays off for him.
Yeah, those mediums really not looking that competitive. Curbs all over the back of F1 Alex as we come up towards turn number 11. A little bit late on the brakes, and Matty D13 having to check up a little bit behind in 4th and 5th, but thankfully no damage picked up. Really nice run from Curbs though, off turn 13 and down onto that main back straight. Could this be another overtake and another position lost for the Mercedes of F1 Alex? Look at the overspeed the Williams has got. This should be fairly straightforward. We probably don't want to be looking behind the Williams at this point because we're not going to be able to see what's going on. Still looking behind. He has managed to get ahead of the Mercedes. Little look at Dale, maybe down into 14. No, thinks that is not the move he wants to be making. It does get back up into 3rd place.
Yeah, fantastic overtake down that back straight for the Williams. F1 Alex will just have to bide his time. He'll know he'll have the tyre advantage later on as Chesnoid initially sets the fastest lap of the race, and Mr. Dale comes and steals it away from him. A 1:34.3 for the AlphaTauri driver, really finding his groove round here. He said he's quick in the F1 cars, not necessarily so much in the Formula 2 later on, but we'll have to wait and see how that develops. For time being, Chesnoid leads our drivers away. 1.5 seconds the gap now, and he is out of DRS range.
Absolutely. Thankfully not saying that he's 90 seconds clear of Dale behind, so we do have that official delta, 1.5 seconds, and then this train of cars. Everyone's still within DRS range for the time being. Hayden struggling to keep up a little bit, just under 8/10 off the back of Punju, with El Tacoman sat pretty close behind him there. So Hayden, maybe the driver under most pressure at this stage.
Yeah, again, we saw that team radio on the formation lap say he's not enjoying this track, he's not too quick. Hopefully, Hayden will find some more pace in the Formula 2 cars when we head to Austria in just a few moments' time. But for the time being, Dale really doing well to command this pack. He's just got to keep it cool, calm and collected as they head down for the first DRS zone of this Chinese Grand Prix. He'll have Curbs behind him. He'll have F1 Alex behind him, chomping at the bit with that rear flap opened. And this could all go wrong for the AlphaTauri driver.
Yeah, Curbs is looking pretty racy. Look at the speed he's got. Must be running slightly lower wings than the AlphaTauri, using that DRS to his advantage and up into second place. Really good recovery from that mistake at turn number 6 on the opening lap. Gets back up into second. Can he try and close the gap to Ches? And if he does, you'd imagine he would bring everyone behind in the train with him.
Yeah, he's got to try, and he's the lead of that train now. Basically, if they can all work together in one commanding peloton, they can start to close that gap to Chesnoid in front. Pit stops could become an issue later on in this race. Obviously, they've got to switch on to a different set of compounds, as you did thankfully correct me earlier heading into this race. But Chesnoid will try and get a good gap, come out in clean air, and we'll see if it can pay off for the Aston Martin driver here.
Yeah, and he's probably going to be thinking about pit stops now. Those soft tyres will be slightly past their best. And, well, he probably won't have predicted this scenario, so he's got to be careful with what he chooses to do on pit stops.
Yeah, exactly. It's a real key initiative around such a short run of a Grand Prix. Like we said, only 14 laps. Every decision you make is crucial. Further at the back, though, Hayden and El Tacoman not having the best of race. They're almost about to drop off this pack. That gap teetering over the 1 second line.
Yeah, this is really not good pace from Hayden. A really poor start. Team Radio from Ches out in front. And he's worried about the soft tyre strat come the end. So, yeah, definitely thinking about the likes of F1 Alex coming back in towards the end of the race. The gap has stabilised a little bit. It went down to as low as 1.5 in this lap, back out to 1.8. And will Dale and F1 Alex be potentially thinking about making a move down into 14, getting back ahead of Curbs?
Yeah, we can see as it looks like F1 Alex tried a little move down the outside Curbs, though, is going to be swallowed up here down into turn number 14. Dale runs wide, though. Curbs has the advantage. A little bit of calamity as Punju didn't quite know what to do. And has Curbs just managed to hold it on? Dale goes down the inside, just holds on to P2 there.
Big cluster of cars. Punju has, I think, got ahead of F1 Alex in there as well. Might be side by side with Curbs down the straight, and we could see the McLaren getting up into the podium places. Matty trying to swing it around the outside as well. And F1 Alex tumbling through the field after that little blunder. Him and Dale running wide in unison going through to turn 14. Matty D13 trying to get up the inside of Curbs, but no space there as the door is slammed firmly shut. Curbs holds on to fourth, but has slipped behind the McLaren and goes a little bit wide there.
Yeah, I think we're seeing those soft tyres starting to come to an end. We saw issues for, a little dive down the inside by Hayden Gullis. We've seen it in Formula 2. We're seeing it now in Formula 1. Gullis in the Ferrari putting an audacious send on F1 Alex, and he's made it sick, albeit a little bit rubbing and racing. But up to P6 now is Hayden Gullis.
Yeah, it wasn't the cleanest of moves, but the first real bit of racing action we've seen from Hayden in this Grand Prix so far, up into 6th place. F1 Alex, when it rains, it very much pours, slipping down almost into last place. Those medium tyres, you would expect them to be quicker in the softs, and that is a very interesting line from Dale there. I wonder if he's trying to use a little bit of tactical play to pick up some DRS, but he's made a bit of a mess of it there. Not quite sure what's gone on.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of DRS games played by the AlphaTauri. You can see that rear light flashing. Less than 10% on the battery now, and Curbs looking to make that advantage as they run down once again to turn number 14. The AlphaTauri is going to be swallowed up once again down into the heavy braking zone. What can Dale do here to try and protect that P3? And he just doesn't have a defence. Gets pushed a little bit wide by the Williams. And will we see anyone box this lap, do you reckon?
Well, I think we have. Into the pits we come. 3 cars deciding now is the time to come in. It is the Williams, AlphaTauri and Ferrari. And actually F1 Alex on the mediums coming in as well. So really does not fancy those tyres. Wants to get onto the softs as early as possible. And 50% have stayed out. 50% into the box.
Yeah, actually, weirdly, 50% of the drivers on the softs and 50% on the mediums have gone into the pit, so it's not quite as straightforward as all the soft runners going in or all the medium runners going in. This is a really interesting strategy from the guys that started on the mediums, going in a little bit preemptively.
Absolutely in their hand as we've got a yellow flag. Not sure what that is for in the first sector. We'll have to wait and see. It has thankfully gone in. But yeah, their hand has been forced a little bit because this has been an absolutely huge performance from Mr. Chesnoid Gaming so far. The gap is 3 seconds out in front as the 4 that came into the pit squabbled on exit. Curbs sat right underneath the rear wing of the AlphaTauri. They're potentially going to be battling on this outlap, which is not ideal at all. Hayden Team Radio, a little bit naughty. Probably would agree with that, but managed to get the move done.
Yeah, I think he knew what he'd done there. He went a little bit deep on F1 Alex, a little bit of rubbing and racing, but acknowledges his mistake, acknowledges that potentially wasn't the cleanest of moves. But we will move past that. Still a lot of racing to come. The red light once again flashing on the Red Bull of Matty D13. He gets overtaken by the Haas of El Taco Man, up from 8th, up into the P3 now.
Yeah, quietly made some nice progress through. Sat right at the back of the train, very much kept out of trouble, but now moving ahead of the Red Bull, Matty D13, struggling a little bit for pace, and our race leader is now in, so is going to cover off. Is everybody else going to come in? Yes. So the 4 that stayed out are now the 4 that come in a lap later. And look at this battling down into the turn 14 hairpin. Through goes Hayden ahead of Dale. Curbs under huge pressure from F1 Alex, who dummies over to the inside but then sits back in behind. These 4 very close together, line and stern, squabbling very, very hard. Is it going to compromise them? Have they lost too much time debating 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th?
Yeah, this will be really interesting to see where they are when the others come out of their pit boxes. Chesnoid, once again, will lead that front pack out of the pit lane. You see him just on the right-hand side, exiting the pit boxes. Everyone's going to get a little bit caught up. Punju into Hayden Gullis there, round the outside of turn number 2, into turn number 3, this left-hander. And again, going 3 wide. A little bit of carnage as Dale gets pushed wide, but they're going 3 wide on the run down to turn number 6 now, the right-hander of 5, and they're just making it through cleanly.
Yeah, Dale was very feisty there, looking for the smallest possible gap, running into the back of a couple of cars as well, losing out to Punju and Curves, getting up into third place. This has worked out brilliantly as Dale looks for a gap that was very much closing. Thankfully, he didn't stay in there because that would have been an aeroplane crash. The constant, though, is that 2.5 second lead out in front for Chesnod Gaming. But in second place, the undercut working perfectly for one Hayden Gullis.
Yeah, starting from P7, he's made up 4 positions, or 5 positions actually, up into P2, and still being chased down by Curbs and Punju. He's not out of danger yet, as we especially come down to this DRS zone. The Ferrari could be under pressure from Curbs and Punju once again. The DRS opening down towards turn number 14. Lap number 7 as we cross the halfway line here in China.
Yeah, we've got more jostling for position going on. Dale moving over to the right-hand side, but I think F1 Alex is the driver on the move around the outside, potentially taking 2 places into turn number 14. Certainly gets past the Haas of El Tacaman, doesn't manage to swing it around the outside of the AlphaTauri of Dale. So there's 7th up to 6th for the Mercedes, who runs a little bit wide. There's Matty 13 somehow down in last place now, trying to get involved. Hopefully we don't see 3 wide into turn 1, because that would be a little bit messy. El Tacaman's going to try and get 6th place. Back up the inside he goes, and that is a lovely move to reclaim that position lost down into 14.
Yeah, Chesnoid at the moment will be absolutely celebrating. He knows the longer this pack continues to fight, the better his chance at winning are. He's 2.3 seconds clear at the moment. Hayden slowly making edgeways into that lead, but Hayden is still under pressure from Curbs and Punju further back, but this DRS train continuing to march through the Shanghai International Circuit, and I have a feeling this might go on till the end of the race.
Yes, and we can see there, very interestingly, the ERS light flashing at the back of that Papaya McLaren car as Punju drained all of his battery to try and get a few places. This is not going to be ideal. We don't know the battery levels of the drivers around, of course, but yeah, that could be a huge disadvantage for the driver in 4th place.
Yeah, quite a few of those ERS lights just teetering on and off again as drivers do burn even more of that battery. It will be 6 laps of racing to go when they cross that start-finish line for the next attempt. And down the DRS zone is going to be Punju, has the best advantage on Curbs here. Both of them with ERS. You can see how low the battery is in that Papaya McLaren on absolutely nothing. And really not being able to mount much of a charge to the Williams or the Ferrari in front.
This isn't an ideal scenario for Ches. While they are fighting, Hayden being in front is dragging everyone back towards that Aston Martin. Come down by a second since the Aston came out of the pit. So yeah, Ches has got to be careful. He's got to keep his wits about him. Is Punju with the fastest lap of the race. That is going to be important. An extra point so far going to the McLaren driver. So yeah, we're going to have to wait and see how this develops over the final 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to confidence in those corners. Straight line speed is pretty much equal for everybody. Hayden on those soft tyres and a lighter fuel load towards the end of this race will have the advantage. He can take those corners just a little bit quicker. But the guys on the medium tyres know they can be a little bit more aggressive in terms of their tyre wear. We've got team radio from Chesnoid saying, is there a fastest lap point? Yes, Chesnoid, yes there is.
That probably says that he's feeling pretty confident. Managed to open the gap up a little bit in this middle sector to 2.4, now 2.5 seconds. So he's obviously thinking like he's pretty comfortable in the car. And fastest lap, probably an option for him.
Yeah, he's definitely considering it now. He knows that extra point could come quite easily to him. Maybe take a couple of laps just to recharge that battery and then dump it around lap kind of 10, 11 or 12. That'll be the crucial key moment for the Aston Martin. That bonus point can really come out to help him later on in this championship. But Hayden's got a bit of a gap here to Punju and Curbs further behind. That gap now sitting at about 0.6 of a second. And normally just a little bit too much there to make a move down into turn number 14 for our drivers.
Yeah, Punju having a little look up the inside of Curbs, thinks better of it. Move further back though, Matty D13 trying to get past El Takaman. The Haas is going to try and keep his foot in it around the outside and have the inside for the final corner. This could be a nasty incident, but they keep it clean and the Haas holds on to 6th place. Second bite of the cherry though for the Red Bull as we start lap number 10 for this group of cars. Is it going to be inside or outside into turn number 1? The Haas stays to the middle of the circuit and the overspeed, not quite enough for Matty D13, stays behind. They've dropped out of DRS though to the cars in front.
Yeah, El Takaman just dropping over that 1 second gap to Dale in front of him. This could be a crucial moment in this race. 5 laps of racing remaining as Mr. Dale does indeed get back past Punju up to P4. These two are they've raced together before. They know what each other are like. And we said before the broadcast started, it's all about if they can avoid damage. But Curbs has gone down the inside of Hayden Gullis here.
I think these soft tyres starting to struggle. Hayden is losing time hand over fist. Now under huge pressure from the group behind. He wasn't making much of an impression on Chez's lead as we have a little bit of a lag spike there. Can't get the words out. It's too exciting. But yeah, over 3 seconds now. This could be curtains.
Yeah, someone asking for Dale Battery if you go on board again. Not much left in that AlphaTauri's tank as we round turn at number 13 once again down the back straight. DRS again becoming active, and I think Hayden a lot closer to this pack this time than last. Curbs moves to the inside of the track and gets the move done even before DRS becomes available. Could he be swallowed up here by Dale as well? He tries to go defensive to the inside, but the AlphaTauri dives a little bit late. Can he push his way through? He breaks early down the inside, and the medium tyre just getting better traction out of turn 14. It will be the outside line for turn number 15 and 16. And actually, Dale, quite an easy pass there on Hayden.
Yeah, 2 places lost. The Ferrari down into 4th. What's interesting to note as we start lap number 11 is 3 of the 4 drivers that were in the main F1 series currently holding 3 of the top 4 places. Probably says to you a little something about the way that these cars are working. That is contact between Punju and Hayden. A little bit of a tap at the back. The McLaren goes spinning off into the pickets on the outside. Hayden managing to stay pointing in the right direction. Only loses 1 place to Matty. That could be the top 3. Absolutely decided though.
Yeah, that's really changed it all up as we saw team radio from Hayden saying Chesnoid is absolutely killing us. He is 2.8 seconds the gap to the lead, but this has caused chaos in the words are failing me today, sorry. Caused chaos in China. Matty D has fallen off DRS range of Mr. Dale. I think this could be a podium confirmed for the AlphaTauri driver and Curbs if they can keep it consistent now. I don't think they're going to be able to chase down for the race win, but unless Matty D can do anything, burn any extra battery that Red Bull has, he's not going to be able to get up into the podium positions.
It's really separated out the pack, that little tete-a-tete between Hayden and Punju through the Snell section of 1 and 2 because, yeah, everyone started to fall out of DRS range. Takaman and Punju right at the back, you can see there. This is the battle for 5th and 6th, Hayden and F1 X. 2 F2 rivals. Will the Mercedes fly past the Ferrari on the back straight down into turn number 14? We have a move in front as Dale and Curbs swapping places. Ferrari does stay ahead. Are they side by side into the final corner? No. Curbs isn't going to try an ambitious move around the outside and thinks, look, this podium is pretty much secure. I'm going to just sit behind the AlphaTauri for now.
Indeed, if these two can sit together, use the DRS to keep flowing between the two of them, they know they can stay out of trouble from Matty behind them, allow him to battle the likes of Hayden Gullis, F1 Alex and El Takaman. Keep that pack behind them, fight for the small points. This is what really matters for the drivers in front. It's Mr. Dale and Curbs up for the crucial points. You see El Tacoman dropping down to P8, really not having a good race here this afternoon. We had GB coming in the chat just a moment ago saying Chesnoid was genuinely quick when we raced here at the start of the season. He got into Q3.
Wow, so yeah, the pedigree certainly there for Ches and showing it off in abundance here. 2.7 seconds the margin. Dale has taken a little bit of time out of the Aston Martin in the past couple of laps. It was briefly over 3 seconds and dragging Curbs along nicely. The gap has continued to extend behind though, 1.7 seconds. Matty just keeping Hayden outside DRS range for the time being, although the Ferrari just nicking inside there.
Yeah, just slotting up really. He's got to try and be defensive from F1 Alex behind him. There are points at stake, of course. A long championship, 4 more races to come in a mix of F1 and F2 cars. If you are just joining in the chat, and the point system slightly different from what we saw in the F1 Creator Series, so we will go over that later on in the race. But F1 Alex does indeed almost get past Hayden here. He's going to have a look around the outside, down turn 14. Hayden locks the rears of that Ferrari, just very, very close between the two drivers. F1 Alex goes on the grass now to try and mount a charge on the Ferrari. Down the inside he goes, pushes Hayden wide and gets the move done. Will we see the Mercedes have to give that move back? But I think Hayden might just get it anyway.
Yeah, he might not have the opportunity to, because the Ferrari does fly back past little Jinko over to the left, maybe to say, this is my position, get away from me, son. This is a battle for second place, though. Curbs trying to get it back from Dale as they swing through the snail section. Bit of a drift from the AlphaTauri on the exit. Nice lighting up the rear tyres. They're still going to stay side by side through the kink of 5 and down into 6. This is where Curbs made a blunder on the opening lap. Can he get it stopped in time? Yes, he does, but I think Dale is just going to hold on, leaves him a lot of space on the outside, though. Rolls the red carpet very much out for the Williams of Curbs, who flies straight through.
Yeah, a lot of respect between these two drivers. They know they've got to finish this race for good points. There's no point sending an audacious move down the inside if it causes both of them to DNF on the run up to the stadium section turns 11, 12 and 13 once again for the penultimate time this race. And I think we're almost guaranteed to have Chesnoid as our race winner here, unless the Aston Martin makes a crucial mistake. Matty D almost within DRS range here, but not quite.
Well, out in front is 3.5 seconds clear. This has been absolutely textbook from Ches and a perfect way to start the evening's proceedings of brilliant drive. This battle for second is going to rage on onto the final lap. You would imagine Dale not electing to send it up the inside. Got to be careful though, because Matty has slowly been gaining on them as they've been squabbling 3-wide battle further back for 5th, 6th and 7th. F1 Alex gets ahead of Hayden, who's now having to defend from fellow F2 compatriot Punju, but the McLaren can't slide past the Ferrari, and we are still, as we were, with Hayden dropping down into 6th.
Yeah, on to the final lap then for round number 1 of this playoff places round China in the F1 cars. Chesnoid Gaming still holding an audacious lead in this race. It's Curbs currently holding second. Dale, quite surprisingly, in P3 after a poor qualifying from the AlphaTauri. Matty D has dropped off positions, as has Alex and Hayden, up into P6. But this is the battle we're going to focus on till the end of the race. It's Curbs and Mr. Dale fighting it out for the last of the podium opportunities. Who's going to be on that second step? Who's going to be on the top step?
Well, I think we know who's going to be on the top step. I think that has been pretty evident for the majority of this race, because Ches has absolutely walked away out in front, timed his pit stop perfectly, just managed to hold on to the lead and extended it as everyone got stuck into each other behind. This battle, you would imagine, is going to go all the way to probably the start-finish line, because Dale is definitely not afraid of having a little bit of a battle. Matty has got himself into the DRS range, though. He could have a nice little 3-wide moment to finish race number 1.
Yeah, Matty D just sneaking up there, the time down to just 0.6 of a second, creeping even lower than that, rounding turn number 13. And the Rebel now begins its charge on its sister team, the AlphaTauri to the front, and the Williams currently find himself in P3, getting some audacious camera angles as Dale has such great speed with the DRS, goes around the outside here of the Williams. There's contact, I think, between the two of them as they round the corner up now towards turn number 16, and I think it will be Dale who gets P2. We watch Chesnoid cross the line to get P1. Dale gets the move done up into P2. Curbs holds on to P3. Matty D comes home in P4. F1 Alex P5. And then further back, Hayden Gullis sneaks up into P6. Punju in P7. And El Taco Man takes P8.
That was absolutely brilliant from Chesnoid Gaming. Fantastic performance. I'm incredibly impressed. Was so comfortable out in front. Was even asking about fastest lap halfway through the race when he was starting to get closed in on by the guys behind, remember. So, yeah, he absolutely cooked in that beautiful Aston Martin car. Behind, I think Curbs and Dale will be pretty satisfied with their work as well. Someone that won't will be Hayden, finishing down in 6th. Involved in a little skirmish with Punju. I'm sure we'll have a little replay of that in a few moments' time. But, yeah, brilliant start for Ches and our three of the 4 F1 demotees, if you like, filling the podium spaces.
Yeah, real interesting start to this playoff season. Dale, Curbs, Matty D and Chesnoid Gaming taking your top 4, some very crucial points. And Punju, quite importantly, taking that fastest lap point with a 1:34.0. So Chesnoid Gaming maybe not attempting that fastest lap at the end. He was half a second off that illustrious purple colour fastest lap. And yeah, some good points indeed for everybody as we head back to all three of us side by side. Just give me 1 second as I try and figure out where everything is on my buttons. There we go. Back with Scott, all three of us here. And Scott, I believe you have some point of views available for the Punju incident.
I do indeed, and I was getting the standings done as well, so that's awesome. So yes, I can give you a little bit of extra information about what has actually happened during the race. I will start with what happened early in the race, and we'll come back to some of the things that happened a bit later. First off, we have Curbs, lap 1, bad start for him. Ended up not costing him too much trouble, but hopefully you can see what happens here is he just gets a good line on this corner. It is a very tricky section. It's a beautiful section in the F1 track world, but this corner is a little bit tricky sometimes. He misses the point completely, absolutely sends it in right off the track. So hopefully it didn't affect him too much, but you know, you never know. If he hadn't done that, maybe he would have maintained a better position throughout. Who knows? Right, moving on. What we had was Hayden Gullis with a little bit of a naughty move. We did see it in the team radio. I will get you. You should be able to see this now. This is what Hayden was up to. I love it. What a send. Straight in there. Just puts his car in there. You ain't stopping that. And that is how Hayden Gullis made up that spot while he was on the medium tyres. Now, we had a little bit of controversy in the race. I've got 2 points of view for it, so you guys can make up your mind about what happened. First off, we're jumping onto Punju, who has one of the coolest setups that I've ever seen. I forget just how cool his setup is, but we should be able to see this. Let's just do a wee refresh in case it bugs out. Boom, let's go on to it. So it's coming into turn 1 and 2. Look at that triple monitor go. But it was a bit unfortunate for Punju, as we will see in the next few seconds. Comes into turn 1, gets very close, and then there's almost a little chain reaction. Boom, and hit, gets right spun off the track, falls down all the way, but we don't quite see exactly what happened too well, so that's why I went on to Tackleman's view, and he got a better view. He was also an unfortunate victim in this incident as well, and I believe may have got damage. It's hard to see sometimes, but here, you should be able to see Tackleman's view. Watch Punju, watch Hayden, right there, little touch, boom, nothing Tackleman can do. Think he gets a little bit of damage. And sadly, that was the kind of end of his race, as he exclaimed in his chat as well. He was a bit unhappy about that, but of course you're going to be, what are you going to do? So that was the update for race 1.
Well, some interesting incidents there in race number 1. We do turn our attention, though, to race number 2, a Formula 2 race in the Styrian Hills. Austria is our home for race number 2, the Red Bull Ring. And Tom, I believe you will be taking us through this F2 race.
Hopefully that's the plan, unless we've had some very sudden changes, of course. But yeah, really looking forward to this. It'll be really interesting to see how these F1 drivers adapt. The F2 cars are a lot lazier on turning, and well, quite sparky on the exits. Let's say that's not the best traction that will be put down. So yeah, going to be interesting to see. Will the Chesnoid gaming dominance continue? I am all for it if it does, but we'll have to wait and see if he can keep that up. Just a couple of things to note in the F2 world from a few weeks ago. Matty is the favourite, you would say, picked up a first and a second in the main F2 race and sprint race a couple of weeks ago. It was a difficult one for F1 Alex, a DNF and a 10th place, and Punji was sort of in around the mid-pack, 11th in the sprint and then 6th in the feature race.
Well, some interesting results there heading into race number 2. We're just going to go have a look at our lineup. Of course, we didn't get a chance to do this before we went racing. Of course, this is how we line up for the playoffs. 4 drivers will head up into Formula 1. 4 drivers will stay or be demoted to Formula 2. We've got Curbs, Dale, Chesnoid and El Taco Man, our initial Formula 1 drivers, and the F2 grid representatives will be Matty D, Punju, Hayden Gullis and F1 Alex. There is everything you need to know about what's going on this afternoon. 4 more races to come, and this is going to be a spicy finish.
Absolutely. Well, if the first race is anything to go by, we could see some very interesting battles. That's the risk that a 25% race like this can bring. If everyone's very close together for the majority of the race, we are going to see incidents at some point during it. So yeah, I think we could see a few more in the next 4 races, especially with some of the tracks coming up.
Exactly. Just a reminder of the tracks coming up for this afternoon. So we have Austria coming up next for the Formula 2 race. We then have a race around Baku in the Formula 1 cars. The penultimate race around Bahrain, once again in the Formula 2 cars. And then we finish off in Sin City, Las Vegas, in the Formula 1 cars, the ultimate destination to finish off this playoff championship. And I think Vegas is going to be a real test of our drivers' abilities.
Abilities, patience, accuracy in corner entry. That's going to be the big challenge. And I wouldn't be shocked if we see someone come across. We could see a big shot going into Vegas. Someone that is looking dead set from a promotion could mess it up. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, getting ready to go for Bahrain, Austria in a few moments' time. The track-wise, I just want to have a little bit of conversation about this. This is the probably the perfect track for F2.
Yeah, it's a real mix of high-speed, low-speed corners. The cars, of course, rely on mechanical grip a lot more than aerodynamic grip in terms of the Formula 1s. And this is a track where they can really start to show strengths. Turns 3 and 1, quite important here in Austria. And that's the slow speed, getting the car rotated. That's exactly where these F2 cars can really start to show an advantage.
Absolutely, and we should be seeing some old school F1 open lobby battles going on. I'll be very, very looking forward to seeing how that turns out. But yeah, favourites. I know that it's probably not that comparable F1 to F2, but Ches, if he can get this going, this should be absolutely brilliant to see. Obviously, we'll be starting from last place though, because we are having a reverse championship order grid, so no more one-shot qualifying sessions. It'll be reverse championship order. So yeah, if Ches can fight his way through, that's going to be very interesting to see. Hayden will be starting towards the front, of course. So yeah, we'll have to see if he can find some of the magic that was missing in that opening race.
Indeed, he came out quite openly and said that China was not his circuit. He's raced quite a lot in the Formula 2 cars over the previous few weeks, 9 rounds of this Formula 2 season, of course. So maybe when push comes to shove, he will find himself a little bit more at home here.
You would think so. He certainly didn't look at home in the F1 car. Obviously, he was in the main F1 series for a few years. But yeah, didn't seem to get the best out of that beautiful scarlet red Ferrari car. Hopefully, when he jumps into that similarly Italian Prema car, he can find a little bit of the old touch, because he's got a lot of work to do.
Of course. And I've completely forgotten what my point was going to be as we head into Austria. There we go. Championship order determines how we start our grids here in in the next races rather. It's reverse championship order to determine the grid slots for our drivers. I think I've gone a little bit prematurely to that as we wait for all our drivers to get themselves set up. Obviously practice sessions just to make sure everybody's in, everybody's set up and almost ready to go racing. But yeah, Scott, just to you for a moment. You've been watching obviously all of our drivers' streams. What do you think their mentality is going into these Formula 2 cars as opposed to the F1 cars?
Yeah, this is going to really suit the F2 people more, because like you would think everyone that streams this game, all the content creators are just used to the F1 cars by now, whether they're fast or whether they're slow, they at least know what they're doing. For the F2 cars, there's some people here that have no idea what they're doing. It's going to be really interesting. I've got a funny feeling the F2 guys, this is the races they really need to bring the points in, because this might come the difference after, 5-6 races.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, 2 races in the Formula 2 cars. That's a lot of points at stake for guys that might not have driven them much before this afternoon. I know Dale hopped into the F2 cars for the first time, I believe, last night with some of his community, really starting to struggle on the smaller cars, the more mechanically driven cars. So it'll be interesting to see how he does when we head around Austria here.
And we've got to note as well that the majority of the F2 drivers are starting towards the front, of course. So we had 3 out of the podium places filled by the F1 drivers. Then we've got the bunch of F2 in the middle, and then Takaman starting in pole position. So yeah, they haven't got too many sort of, I don't want to use something that might come across as a little bit mean, but obstacles in the way, trying to feel their way into the F2 car.
Yeah, indeed. We're going to go have a look at how our standings do line up. Remember, this is, of course, the reverse of how our drivers start up on the grid. No, we're not, because they are not working at the moment. Chesnoid Gaming, I can tell you, I don't know, they're completely broken. We won't go to them for the time being. We'll go back to all our lovely faces. But I can tell you, I believe Chesnoid, obviously winning that race, will start at the back of the grid.
Absolutely. And those guys at the back, Ches, Dale, Curbs, they've got to keep it clean. Turn 1 can be a little bit of a pinch point if you try and send it up the inside. Also got to be careful of that horrendous sausage curb on the outside as well that can absolutely chuck your car into the inside barrier or the outside barrier. Either one, it doesn't care. So yeah, when they're not going to be used to it and probably not used to the traction or lack of it, they've got to be so careful.
Yeah, it's going to be a real interesting test. The left-hander of 6 and 7 as well. Very fast in the F1 cars. Can't necessarily take it flat out in these F2 cars. Setups might really come into fruition in terms of keeping it together, keeping it out of that gravel, because we know it's sometimes quite unpredictable when they hit that loose, rough surface.
Yeah, this could be the one where we see the field spread quite a lot. One mistake is going to be so costly. It can also be really difficult to, once you've made one mistake, it's a lot easier to snowball and snowball and snowball and make further mistakes. We've seen that in the F2 series just gone by. We've seen drivers, if they get involved in a first lap accident early on, they really struggle. Coincidentally, or on the opposite side of that, for the F2 sprint races, which this is effectively what we're seeing, the driver that starts on pole usually does very well and finishes probably at worst inside the top 3.
Indeed, and I hope you bought your raincoat this afternoon, Tom, as we have a look over the Grand Prix track here. It's very, very wet.
Get the umbrellas out. Get the umbrellas out. They're going to be probably needing oars more than the wet compound tyres. That's something we've got to be careful of. But another thing is going to be track limits, especially in the rain as well. They're going to be going slightly slower, but considerably less grip. That's going to make for a very, very interesting dynamic. Penalties could decide who wins this and who gets no points.
Indeed it could. We saw how close the grid were in China. If they're that close, a 3-second penalty could be the difference, not only between a couple of positions, but quite possibly between winning and losing. I've been asked in the chat if I chose the weather. No, we haven't. I believe it's the same as the main kind of calendar. It's the weather as it is in the country at the moment. We haven't got a formation lap, so we are going to go lights out. And Tom, I'll let you take it away.
Well, it is lights out and away we go. Slightly premature start. It is the ART of El Takamau starting on pole. Punju in that dams gets a pretty decent start. Will he have a look at the inside? No, it's the Van Amersfoort of F1 Outs. Look at the ART going slightly wide though. That's probably the lack of experience that El Takamau has got. Hayden flying through in that Prema though, up into second place, and F1 Outs was the big loser there, dropping down into 6th, 7th and maybe 8th. Ches has lost a lot of time down at the back of the pack, but it is El Takamau still leading. Hayden sending it up the inside though of turn number 3, and we've got a Campos car. Everyone's getting caught up on the outside. Sliding off goes the Campos of, I think that is Curbs. Ches down at the back. El Takamau goes from 1st down into 7th. It was Dale actually that lunged it in there and made an absolute Horlicks of it, down in 5th. Penalty and probably a bit of damage as well.
Yeah, an audacious send up the hill to turn number 3 there for Dale. Maybe a little bit of an experience in these Formula 2 cars as Punju gets pushed wide by Curbs. And this is a little bit of chaos around here.
Yep, you can see that the F1 drivers are so not used to these conditions, although Curbs is going to try and send it up the inside potentially of Hayden. Hayden's struggling, going a little bit wide there in that Prema, under enormous pressure from the Invicta car. Is he going to send it through? Just enough space there for Curbs to try and get alongside, but doesn't have the grip on the exit and will stay in 3rd place for the time being. F1 Outs, who was probably lucky that he got caught up on the exit of turn 1, dropping down into 7th, avoided the big pile-up that occurred at turn number 3 as Curbs goes wide there straight away. That's going to be a warning very early on for the Invicta car.
Yeah, F1 Alex actually racing here in both the Formula 1 and the Formula 2 Creator Series, not having the best of times in the F2, spinning out on his entry to the pit lane multiple times. But further back positions, Mr. Dale with that damage really starting to struggle.
Yep, dropping down into 8th and last place. You can see the damaged wing there on the left-hand side. What's interesting to note is that F1 Outs gets ahead of Curbs in the battle for 3rd and 4th with the Invicta car. Try and send it back up the inside of turn 3. This is where we saw the concertina of cars. I think that's the best way of putting it on the previous lap. He does have a little look up the inside. They've got to be careful of the dams of Punju behind, trying to get involved, and then El Takamau trying to recover from being the innocent victim of that opening lap melee. But yeah, F1 Outs does get up into 3rd place. Under pressure again, though. Curbs not going to live this one down, but I think he's going to have to concede the place. A little bit wobbly, though, as he tries to pull out. It was a tentative move to the inside, was sort of 50% in, 50% out. The further back, I think that's El Takamau and Punju scrapping over 5th and 6th. These two still side by side in the middle sector, but the Van Amersfoort car should have the grip on the inside, and Curbs will concede 3rd place. Finally, he was pushing very hard to get up into 3rd, but yeah, concedes it at the end.
He was indeed. A lot of drivers just being very cautious with their driving here. Only 10 laps around this Austrian circuit, and every lap has to count. B-Roy coming in the chat saying, ask Dale to look after my car, please. Obviously, B-Roy driving that Campos car in the F2 Creator Series, and Dale not having the best of times out here so far.
No, he's really struggling down at the back. Someone that isn't struggling is Mata D13, back in more familiar territory, comfortably out in front, 2.8 seconds. The margin for the Road and Carlin car are looking very comfortable in these conditions. El Tacoman continuing to squabble with Punju up the inside. Goes El Tacoman, the pole sitter, of course, in the ART, driving championship winner Unstopped Rob's car, and doesn't quite have the pace of the championship winner. Punju is going to try and send it back up the inside. Gets a little bit of that Dams car alongside. Not a lot of space, and the old big squeeze put on him by El Tacoman, but does get that Dams alongside and ahead, in fact, at the apex, but hanging it around the outside goes El Tacoman. We're seeing some really nice racing between these drivers. Bit of a wheel spin picked up from Punju on the exit, and will concede that place. Whatever got to mention, though, for the guys that don't necessarily watch F2 that much, is we didn't see people pitting a lot when they picked up damage. Drivers seem to find it fairly comfortable to stay out with front wing damage, so it's not over yet for Dale, but he does have a lot of work to do, and the pace doesn't look overly great.
No, dropping off quite considerably at the back of the pack there. 1.2 seconds already in just 2.5 laps of racing around this Austria circuit. But the three of the F2 drivers, Hayden, Matty and F1 Alex, really going like a duck to water here in Austria in these Formula 2 cars, finding themselves quite comfortably in the top three.
Absolutely, but Hayden struggling a lot. He's still not got the pace of the cars around. Goes a little bit wide through turn number 10 and still under huge pressure from F1 Alex behind. Another fastest lap for Matty D13 out in front. F1 Alex, little look over to the inside. This would not be a wise move, I would think. Probably save it for a bit of slipstream down into turn number 3. Hayden a bit wide through turn 1, not managing to rediscover the form that took him to second place in the F2 stands, and he could be losing second place in this race. Goes defensive on the run up the hill. Is F1 Alex going to try the switcheroo maybe into turns number 3? Breaks a little bit early. He is going to try the switch back, but Hayden covers it off nicely. A little bit of a block on the inside and holds on to second place.
Yeah, fantastic defensive moves from the Prema car of Hayden Gullis there, just showing F1 Alex where he should be putting his car, and quite considerably not next to his is what he's telling him. Curbs, though, getting just up in
he's gone
action.
wide.
Ooh.
Hayden very, very wide into turn number 4. Sorry to cut in there, but it was a huge, huge mistake. And the invitation firmly sent to the Van Amersfoort car. Through goes F1 Alex up into second place. And now Hayden has got to be careful of Curbs behind him as well.
Yeah, the Invicta car of Curbs just getting involved now, finding a little more pace in these Formula 2 cars, really crucial for himself if he wants to get those crucial points. I don't think anyone is catching Matty at the moment, but Hayden Gullis has now got 2 warnings. Could we see a track limits penalty coming soon?
It's very likely, not even at half distance yet. This has been a bit of a disastrous start for Hayden. Pace was not there in China, continues to elude him here in Austria, and under enormous pressure to try and pick up as many points as possible, really, because he's going to be scrapping if he wants to try and get into the F1 series, because it hasn't started very well. Winner last time out, Ches, down in 7th, not making the progress that he potentially would have liked, sat just on the back of the dams of Punji, who is another driver that potentially struggling a little bit for pace unexpectedly.
Yeah, not having the best of times out here is Punju. He's obviously on a nice rig. We've seen it all before, but not doing too well in these Formula 2 cars. A little bit of a kick out there for the Dams car, the Leclerc-driven car in the real-life Formula 1. But Punju dropping off what effectively would have been DRS range. Of course, no DRS being available here in the wet conditions we find ourselves in Austria. But Hayden Gullis is almost going to get P2 back here.
Bit of deja vu from the previous lap, but this time it was the Van Amersfoort and F1 Alex running wide. Hayden slipping back through and gets second place from the Van Amersfoort. They continue to trade places. Curbs and El Tacoman sat just behind them. This is now a 4-car scrap for second, third, fourth and fifth, but out in front. 6.8 seconds, and that continues to grow. Matty D13 in a league of his own at the moment in the Road and Carlin car.
Yeah, having quite an enjoyable drive. The rather Max Verstappen drive in that Red Bull liveried Road in Carlin at the moment. But behind him, the battle still continues. El Tacoman starting to find a little bit of pace. He had a bad start in Formula 1, but finding some pace here in the Formula 2 cars quite unexpectedly.
Yeah, and what we're seeing is the gap between the F1 and the F2 drivers in the F2 specs is not as severe as we were potentially fearing, because Curbs and El Tacoman are putting on a really good show behind Hayden and F1 Alex and could potentially get past both of them as they struggle for pace. Dale picks up the first corner cutting penalty, 2 seconds for a track limits infringement, but that won't make too many differences to his finishing position, you would imagine. Little look up the inside, but F1 Alex going slowly on the apex. That catches Curbs out a little bit. Can the ART of El Tacoman try and find a route to get up into 4th place? Not quite, doesn't get a very good exit at turn number 3.
Yeah, just got a little bit compromised by Curbs. A little bit of poor placing for the ART drivers. Actually, really wide goes Curbs. This could be an opportunity.
Yep, through goes El Taco Man. You would imagine, I was just looking at the track map there. It's the same corner as the previous couple of laps. Curbs is going to manage to hold on to 4th place. Thankfully enough for him. Taco Man unable to get through. Will he try a little switch back on the exit? No, not close enough. The ART and will remain in 5th place. But people seemingly really struggling with turn number 4. 3 laps in a row now, someone's gone extremely deep. This time, the driver in question doesn't lose a position, although Curbs could be losing it. Down into turn number 9, it would be brave, and it was probably a little bit stupid if El Tacoman was going to try and send it up the inside, but sits behind for now. Lap 7.
Yeah, lap 7 of 10. 3-4 laps racing remaining. Dale's into the pits, deciding either for an early retirement or getting that front wing changed eventually. Potentially a strategy here to go for fastest lap.
He's got nothing to lose, only going to be picking up 1 point for 8th place. You might as well double it and get 2, level it off with Ches. Still some squabbling going on behind. Hayden and F1X have managed to detach themselves from the 3-car scrap behind, and they're probably going to debate 2nd and 3rd. Hayden going wide again onto the runoff and sausage curb on the exit. Does manage to hold on to 2nd for the time being, but the Van Amersfoort car will surely have a superior exit, and they're going to run side by side down into turn 4. Are we going to make it 4 laps in a row that somebody fails to pick their braking point? Hayden a little bit wobbly going through the apex, and the Premier is just going to hold on to 2nd place for the time being. At least the Van Amersfoort has a nice run though up the inside. Hayden leaving the door very much open, and F1X decides this is his time to try and make a move, but the door I think is now going to be slammed firmly shut on the exit. Yes, Hayden giving no room for the Van Amersfoort to send it around the outside. Stays in 2nd place.
Yeah, great defending there from the Prema car. F1 Alex once again just being told exactly where to put his car. Hayden's shown time and time again that's exactly how he wants to command a race, but Alex looks again down the inside of turn number 9. It's not the corners you want to try and make an advantage. You've got to try and sit behind. Wait for the drivers to make a mistake like we've seen into turn number 4 time and time again. And even turn 1 it could be a passing opportunity, but traction out of these corners is not as good as it is in the Formula 1 cars.
Especially when you add a little bit of moisture into the question as well. And some drivers certainly struggling more than others. We're waiting to see if Dale does pick up the fastest lap on those new tyres. Meanwhile, 2nd and 3rd could be swapping places between Hayden and F1X. They're going to go side by side again up the hill into turn number 3. I think they banged wheels there just as they went over the crest of the hill. Hayden with the inside holds on, but that is the switchback performed absolutely expertly from the Van Amersfoort car. Through goes F1 Alex and up into 2nd place. Hayden could be under pressure because look behind them. Curbs and El Tacoman have closed back up to this train, and it is once again a squad of 4 battling over 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Bit of a tap at the back of the Prema from Curbs late on the brakes. It puts Hayden offline and maybe opens the Invicta car up to trying to get onto the podium. It would be a shock result if Hayden loses out to one of the F1 drivers, but at the moment just holding on.
Yeah, a little bit of contact between the Invicta and the Prema as they headed through turn 4. We've seen how much carnage that can cause, and this is unsettled Hayden. But again, if he can get back in his rhythm, he's got to try and charge down Alex. No ERS, of course, in these Formula 2 cars. Mr. Dale not getting the fastest lap of the race, but indeed getting a 2nd to 2nd penalty.
Yeah, and we've got to mention as well, F1 Alex currently sat on 2 warnings, so very close to a penalty, as is Hayden behind, of course. But yeah, Curbs, who was on the offensive only a few corners ago, is now very much on the defensive on the run-up into turn number 1. Can El Tacoman make this overtake? Work up the inside we go with the ART car. Through we go very nicely indeed, and up to 4th place. Will Curbs be able to retaliate up the hill down into turn 3? It's been the favoured overtaking point, or at least battling point for a lot of the drivers using the slipstream. Got a nice little bit of overspeed. Space on the outside to try and be brave on the brakes. Will he send it around the outside? Yes, he very much will. Got to be careful of that sausage curb on the exit. Given a lot of room, respectfully enough, from El Tacoman, but currently just holding 4th place. They're going to go side by side again, though, on the run down into turn 4. Both drivers have made mistakes here in the previous couple of laps. Who will come out on top between these 2 drivers painted in the Alpine liveried colours of that blue and pink car? Unfortunately, not blue and pink this year, of course. El Tacoman is the winner in that little duel.
Yeah, some audacious acrobatics between the Alpine liveried cars here, and I think this battle could continue for the next couple of laps. F1 Matty has absolutely commanded this race at the moment. 9 seconds is the gap between himself and F1 Alex. Hayden Gullis just half a second off the VAR car there, and I think this could almost be a podium settled for Alex and Hayden as Tacoman and Curbs continue to fight.
They've got to be careful though. Penalties would put them really at risk of losing that penalty, and of course, a little bit of an incident involved on the final lap could put pay to their podium chance as well. Both of these drivers needing to pick up points. Hayden, most importantly, if he can get up into second, that would be important for his charge towards getting up into the F1 series. He's spoken about the revenge arc, if you like, trying to dethrone Dirk Chocolate, who of course has already lost his seat. Is this going to be second place for Hayden in the Prema on the final lap? Not close enough unless he goes for a big dive bomb into turn number 3. Closes up a little bit into the braking zone, but stays behind for now.
Yeah, gets better traction out of turn number 3. Up the hill they run, over the crest and down towards turn number 4. Alex has to get this braking zone right, otherwise the Prema will be all in his mirrors. He tries to go to the inside, down goes the inside, goes Hayden. Late on the brakes is the Prema, and he forces the VAR wide. He just closes the door, slams the door on the VAR driver, and up into P2 goes Hayden Gullis.
Beautiful stuff. Some of his moves haven't always been the cleanest, but that certainly wasn't one of those. He does go a little bit wide, though. Has he made a mess of it? He's just got up into second place on the final lap. Could be conceding it within a matter of corners. But yeah, brilliant dummy sold. Sent it up the inside clean, as you like. Very reminiscent, in fact, of Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen in the 2022 F1 race. Are we going to see an overtake into the final couple of corners? Little bit of a gap on the outside as jinking back over goes Hayden Gullis. Should hold on to it for the time being. Dale retires, but over the line, utterly dominant, like it was for Ches in China. It is Matty in Austria that takes the victory. Are we going to see a drag race up to the line between Hayden and F1 Alex? We certainly are at the over the line. Sorry, it is just over a tenth of a second. El Tacaman curbs Punju, and then Ches will complete our running order. And it wasn't quite as action-packed as the F1 race, but certainly some very interesting things to take going into the second F2 race in a couple of minutes time, maybe.
Indeed, game there, giving driver of the day to Matty D13, and I think you're absolutely correct in that. A commanding lead from the former F2 driver looking to make his F1 debut in Season 6. And yeah, a lot of carnage and chaos there. Mr. Dale not scoring, I think, minimal points, if any points, after that early or the late retirement.
Yeah, didn't get the fastest lap as well, which was what he would have been going for. So yeah, a very disappointing one. After China was very positive for Dale, brought a little bit back down to earth there, as was Ches, finishing 7th, of course. So yeah, that probably flips the championship standings a little bit and puts everyone back together.
Indeed it does. Lots to talk about here. We'll have a look at the standings in just a few moments' time, but what I want to do is get F1 Scott back in here. There's only a couple of clips to go through, but anything from your end? What did you see on some of the drivers' feeds? I think you're muted, Scott.
Whoops, sorry, been running in the background for that lap, for that race. Yes, only got a couple, really. There wasn't too much that went on in that race. Everyone kept it nice, calm and collected. Sadly, one of the only things that did happen, Hayden Gullis actually just he forgot to put his race screen on, so I've just got him sort of reacting to it, saying that he messed it up. But I do have one clip, if I can show everyone, that should be good. This was Dale getting a good view on what happened lap 1 with the F2 race. Let's go on board as we can see. Right, gets the jump on Alex there, but as you can see, all the cars are very close together. I think it was Curbs or F1 Alex to the side, and we get a glimpse of what happened between Hayden and Taco Man at the lead. Hayden sends the inside, Taco Man gets in, Dale can't stop, and that is our lap 1 carnage. Gets a 3-second time penalty with Taco Man, and Taco Man did have to struggle to get back into there. So yeah, very unfortunate, but other than that, nothing really too much. Everyone keeping it as clean as they can.
Well, interesting to see what really happened there for Mr. Dale heading into turn number 3. Just got it all sorts of wrong in these F2 cars. We knew he wasn't too confident in the dry, but the wet really brought a completely different kettle of fish into this event.
Well, that's probably the first lap he's done in the rain for quite some time. Didn't pick his braking zone at all. Probably quite a justified penalty to be given as well. And yeah, really ruined what could have been a good race for him. But yeah, only lasted 3 corners effectively.
Well, yeah, so unfortunate for him, he has got a lot to do in the next few races, a lot to try and catch up on. But let's try and have a look to the future. Fastest lap from that last race, we didn't quite catch it on the broadcast. It did go to Matty D13, so 26, well, not 26 points, 13 points overall for the road and karting car there in Austria. So yeah, fantastic commanding drive from himself.
Absolutely, and it should catapult him up to the top of the standings if my mental maths done very quickly and probably slightly inaccurately is correct. Hayden will be pretty happy with a very important handful of points because the pace once again wasn't there, but just managed to overcome F1 Alex right at the death to beat him out to second place. People that will be disappointed, apart from obviously Dale, Ches will be, he'll feel a little bit disappointed with 7th, but I don't know if he was expecting to be that quick in the F2 car, was much more comfortable in the F1 car. And if he can continue that pace, he'll certainly be going up.
Indeed.
Or staying up, sorry.
I think on the balance of probabilities here, if you can perform well in all 3 of the F1 events, you can kind of let the F2 event slide. The points will sort of work out. So for Chesnoid now, he's got to turn his focus to making sure he can secure as many points as possible in the Formula 1 event. And speaking of the F1 events, shall we talk about where our next venue is?
Baku. This is quite the outing.
It is indeed the Baku Street Circuit in Azerbaijan. 13 laps to come for our drivers. We saw carnage, calamity, and lots of front wings needed in the real life F2, well, in the F2 Racing Career Series, equally as much in the F1 race. And would you able to see a safety car for the first time this afternoon?
I think we will. That castle section could get a little bit busy maybe after a couple of laps. But like you were saying, the F2 race, in the feature race, Hayden winning it. So maybe this will be a return to form on a track that, albeit in an F2 car, he seems a little bit more comfortable. Matty and Alex, though, both disqualified in that race. So yeah, not in the best of form going into this.
Yeah, F1 Alex having not necessarily the best of races when we last raced here in Baku, forgetting that you can't pit within the first 3 laps within the 50% races, so he did unfortunately get disqualified for failure to use both compounds. Fortunately, no such rule in Formula 1 here. You can use both you have to use both compounds, but there is no limit on how early you can pit.
Absolutely. So yeah, shouldn't be falling foul of the rules, but touch wood, fingers crossed, everything is okay there. In the F1 race, we didn't actually see 2 of the drivers that are currently taking part. Tacoman picked up an 11th place, Curbs with a DNF though, so that could be a little bit worrying.
So it really opens the door for anyone to do well here this afternoon. Interesting that everybody has stuck with their initial car allocations. Hayden Gullis sticking it out in that Scarlet Ferrari. Chesnoid wanting to bring home another victory for the Aston Martins. Once again, heading into a practice session, so just bear with us whilst we get themselves sorted. Standings are being updated as well, so we will hopefully have the live standings as we head into race number 3 here in Baku. And I'll tell you what, it's looking very, very interesting, very topsy-turvy as we navigate between the Formula 1 and the Formula 2 cars.
What do you think is going to happen here? Will we see another Chesnoid dominant race, or will it be somebody else that comes and picks up the mantle from him?
I think it's going to be one of those races where literally anything can happen. I think an early or a late safety car can really bring some chaos here into the Creator Series race. In chat, it is not another wet race. It is dry this time, at least in the practice session. So unless anything else changes, it will be dry round Baku, but we'll keep you updated as soon as we know.
Absolutely. Rain around Baku, that would be something else. I know people will probably want to see it, but I think our drivers will be pretty happy if it does stay dry for that race.
Indeed. Maybe on the team radio we'll see a Charles Leclerc famous quote from around here in Baku, the "I am stupid" being played across all of your lovely screens. But we'll wait and see amongst what's going to happen over the next 13 laps of racing our drivers, just making sure their setups are primed to perfection. And I believe we have the standings ready to go. So let's go have a look at them, see how our drivers stand after the first 2 rounds. We'll take it how it is. So it's Matty on 19 points, Hayden and F1 Alex tied on 12 points. As is Curbs on 12, Chesnoid Gaming on 14, and El Tacoman on 7, and Punju on 4.
Yes, I'm trying to see if we've missed anyone. Dale is on 11, I believe, so we'll slot into 6th place. But yeah, Matty with 5 points is a pretty handy lead to have after the first couple of races.
Yeah, a crucial win there in Austria to take him quite reluctantly up into first place. We'll wait and see. We'll get the live standings up when the race starts here in Baku. We'll go for that very, very quickly. But Scott, just a question for yourself. We'll bring you back in ever so quickly. from your point of view, has the drivers been saying anything about any tracks they're not looking forward to this afternoon?
No, but I think they've been focusing on the F2 race so much that they might have forgotten that they've still got Baku and particularly Vegas to do. So yeah, I've not really been seeing too much of that. Chesnoid has been like a surprise favourite that's came in, but he is very fast as well, so I'm not too surprised by that. But yeah, the F2 guys, like, yes, they've done well. Hayden, Alex, second and third. Taco was quite surprising on the F2 cars. If he keeps up this sort of pace and just kind of stops getting unlucky by being the car just behind an incident, or in that lap's case, the guy that gets sort of bashed out in lap 1. If he can just do that, I'm actually thinking he's one to watch for, definitely.
Indeed, it's interesting going into this halfway mark. Around lap 6 and 7 is exactly when we cross the halfway line. And just to note, if anyone is tied on points as we head into the final race, as we finish the final race, it will be who's won the most races. Now, I'm just going back to address a comment we had in chat earlier from Kay. They said another wet race. I said it wasn't another wet race.
No.
But it's very much raining here in Baku.
That is very wet as well. That's going to be an absolute nightmare. This is going to be fun.
It really is. It's going to be a real test for our drivers around Azerbaijan. And the drivers who are currently below that line, below the Formula 1 seat availability, this is where it could really cause chaos. F1 Alex just on that brink, losing out on position alone to Curbs. They're tied on points on 12. But Curbs, who had a better result in China, finds himself higher up in the standings.
There are a couple of people with a lot of work to do. Punju, notably as well, just 6 points from the opening couple of events. Got to get it together.
Indeed they do. Formation lap back on here for the F1 grid. It will be Punju that takes us away. El Takaman, Dale, F1 Alex, obviously those top 4 being the bottom 4 in the championship standings. Let's go and have a look and see if our graphics are going to work. Give me 1 second. It is! It's a miracle!
Yes.
Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Brilliant.
That is your live standings for the grid at the moment. Matty D on 19 points. Chesnoy just behind him on 14. And then we have 3 drivers tied on 12 points. Hayden Gullis, F1 Alex, and Curbs. And this is going to be an interesting race to see how they come out on top.
Absolutely. I believe Hayden might be on 13. That could be a mistake on my part, but I think he is 1 point clear of those 2 drivers. And Dale, coincidentally, 1 point behind, 10 in the first race, 1 in Austria. Got some work to do to try and recapture that form, but is starting towards the front this time.
Yeah, Hayden indeed on 13 points. I apologise for getting that wrong. Trying to read off a screen and do a million other things. It sometimes jumps out at you. But anyway, Punju leading us away on this formation lap, successfully heading down towards Castle. Hopefully no one bins it and everyone starting on the intermediate tyre here.
I wonder if it will dry out. Obviously, we do have 2 weather slots, I believe, for a 25% race. The first one, as you can see on your screen, is a little bit moist and a little bit damp. Will we see the rain increase or will we see it decrease? That could be a very interesting dynamic as we reach the halfway stage because, will people be looking to pit on these intermediate tyres?
I think it's going to be an interesting call. Maybe they'll find some more pace on a fresh set, but if you're out in front, the last thing you want to do is get to the back, lose that clean air, and have to try and charge through the grid. There's not many laps here, and it is wet, of course. So maybe tyres won't be as much of an advantage when they boot on a fresh set.
It's going to be really interesting to see. So fascinating. Our 2 winners, of course, starting on the back row. Ches, brilliant pace in China. He's got to fight his way through the field this time, though. Started on pole for that race, of course. Matty has started in a number of positions so far. He's going to have to fight his way through as well.
Indeed he will. Not maybe being too comfortable. A little bit of a drift there through turn number 16 for the Rebel. Not quite getting the power down as effectively as he would have hoped. You see the green flags flying around this Baku street circuit. Almost ready to go racing. Everybody in the chat, what is your prediction for this Formula 1 race? Who's going to nab it? Will Punju be able to hold from pole position?
Expect the unexpected. I think that is the best way to summarise this. Somebody I think is going into the pits. Is that Punju? No. Are we doing the old donuts maybe on the start-finish straight?
I don't quite know what was going through his mind there. Maybe a preemptive pit stop for the Papaya McLaren. But he will line up on pole position. A lot of alliteration there for everybody in the chat. But Punju lines up on pole. Takaman just behind him. And we always get a horrible camera angle on this race start. So we'll go on board with El Takaman. Finds himself in P2 when we get ourselves sorted out. I'm not quite sure why it says lap 2 at the moment. Do just bear with us.
Kerb's done brilliantly to get up into first place already.
Yeah, even though we sat on P5 on the grid on our screens, we're waiting to see those lights go out. We're waiting to see if there's any message from race control. We might see an aborted start here in Formula 1. Just waiting to see what is happening. El Tacoman, Taco gets a lap head start, says Damo Willis in the chat. Not quite sure that's how it works here. But drivers are just sat on the grid. There we go. Sorted itself out. We have 5 red lights. And for round 3, we're racing here in Baku. A fantastic pull away from Punju. It will be El Takaman to have the inside line on the run down to turn 3. It looks like Dale tries a move round the outside up into P2. Can't just hold it, but all 5 drivers have got through successfully. Matty D up in early position, up into P7 now is the Red Bull driver, but continuing. Dale hasn't had the best of starts, finding his grip around this track. F1 Alex trying to make up positions. Aiden Gullis rather, losing out to Matty D, who's had a stonker of a start up into P6 and already looking to challenge F1 Alex for P5 here.
Got to be very careful. He's been lunged by Hayden, though, up the inside. The Ferrari making contact with the Red Bull. He was almost pushing F1 Alex around the corner as well. And it could be a couple of steps forward and then 1 step back again for Matty as he's under pressure from Hayden.
Yeah, Punju looking to make an early move, looking to lose an early move here to El Takaman. El Takaman gets that position up into the lead of this race. And Dale, once again, finding his feet. He's going to go down the inside here on the McLaren. Actually thinks better of it as they run down towards the castle section for the first time. Can all 8 of our drivers get through here successfully? El Taco does. As does Dale, Punju, everyone getting through there quite successfully. That was Hayden at the back, definitely almost clipping the wall.
That looked very, very sketchy. He's lost a lot of time, 1.5 seconds. And you can see there he has got a bit of damage. Was that from the earlier contact with Matty D13, or was it from him clattering into the barrier on the castle section?
Yeah, hopefully Scott will be able to get us a replay of exactly what happened to the Ferrari driver there. But it is definitely front wing damage for Hayden Gullis. This could really hamper his chances at getting back up into Formula 1. It's looking like another Formula 2 season for the Ferrari driver.
Certainly not ideal at all. And, well, when Hayden loaded into the lobby to kick off this evening's action, as I think Matty D13 may have clipped the inside barrier there. Very lucky not to pick up any damage or anything worse, of course. Sat right in the slipstream of that Mercedes car, and we could be seeing a swap for positions as we cut the beam. El Takaman leading out in front, 0.5 of a second. The margin, the deltas have gone a little bit weird there. Kerb's getting up into 3rd place. Dale, who's been extremely racy, dropping down into 4th, but that is F1 Alex making a complete mess, and Hayden's in there as well. It's like a party at the apex, or the exit, sorry, of turn number 1, and that is 2 drivers that'll be certainly out of action. Have we got a full course safety car? We've certainly got yellow flags. I'm not sure if it's VSC or full safety car, but that is 2 drivers making a complete mess of turn number 1.
Yeah, we can see the yellow lights flashing on our driver's dashboard, so definitely a VSC out, if not a full course safety car. We predicted it might happen around the streets of Azerbaijan. We didn't quite expect it to come this early on the intermediate tyres, of course, causing carnage in here. We don't see a safety car on the track at the moment, at least not according to our track maps. Oh, there we go. Race control do indeed confirm that Bert Mylander will be joining us out on track for a few laps of action. Actually, Mr. Dale there going rather deep into turn number 6.
Dale's been a little bit wild in this race so far. Remember at turn 1 on the opening lap, tried to swing it around the outside and almost clipped the wall that sticks out a little bit further than you can see. Thankfully enough, though, no damage, and continuing on in 4th place. Hopefully under safety car conditions, everybody can negotiate the castle section. F1 Alex and Hayden have, they've had a, I can't remember the word. Their blushes have been spared thanks to this safety car, both minus their front wing, but they will be able to close up to the back of the pack.
Yeah, they have indeed. Ignore the interval on your screen at the moment. We've had a temporary loss of timing data, shall we say. But this has saved F1 Alex and Hayden Gullis at the moment. Heading down towards the pits, they'll both have to change front wings, and this will give them both an opportunity to get a fresh set of tyres on Do you reckon we'll see anyone bold enough to go onto the wet weather tyre here?
I don't think full wets are going to be the play. If anyone's going to come in, it will be for another set of inters. Certainly not the slick tyres, unless someone wants to try something a little bit wild. Be interesting to see if anyone does come into the pits, though, whether they decide now is the time to put on a fresh set of intermediate tyres. Obviously, only done 2 laps on them, so the tyre wear shouldn't be that bad. But you've got to remember, of course, though, Baku is very, very rear limited. The rear tyre wear is usually considerably higher than the front tyre wear, and when you pair that with wet weather conditions, those rear tyres could be very worn when we get to latter stages of the stints. But bottom 3 into the pits. Hayden's gone for the overtake in the pit lane. Doesn't quite work out for him, unfortunately. That would have been prime Sebastian Vettel China moment there. Unfortunately, does stay behind as the Ferrari team now get to work on that car.
It is indeed. We have got F1 Scott. He's got a POV ready for those incidents into turn number 1. So I will hand you over to Scott. I think you need to unmute your mic again.
Do you know, I've never done that before up until now in broadcasting. Now I've done it twice in a row. Perfect. F1 Alex, completely missing the breaking point. Luckily, and nice of him to at least get out of the way and not take out any other drivers. Destroys his front wing, and we get a lovely shot of Hayden Gillis as well. Coming straight in, which I did find quite humorous. But just in case you wanted to see exactly what Hayden's point of view was, I have that ready. And this is sadly what he done. Coming into... This was his damage. You wanted to see it earlier. Boom. Hit the wall. Knocked his wing off at sort of half. Got very lucky to get this safety car and get right back in it. Very unfortunate of him, and apologies. This one is Hayden's turn. What? No, it's not. Okay, go. I'm messing it all up. TK, right back to you, mate.
No trouble. Well, interesting. Press the wrong button there. That's my bad. Interesting to see what happened to both F1 Scott and Hayden Gullis, respectively. Scott coming in with all the behind-the-scenes action. You could see the disappointment on Hayden's face as he clipped the wall there into the castle section.
He's making these playoffs very, very hard work for himself. Pace wasn't there in China. Pace wasn't there in Austria, but was lucky that other people had bigger issues. Now down in last place, he's crashed twice already. This is going to be a big, big concern for Hayden.
It is indeed. Not many laps remaining as we head through this safety car period. Probably going to get going either this lap or lap number 5. So heading through, it's got to be going through their mind that a diminishing number of laps, a diminishing number of corners to make an overtake opportunity happen. And the Ferrari certainly getting worried.
Absolutely, especially when he crashed out of sympathy, of course, for F1 Alex there going through turn number 1. Felt bad for him making that little mistake and decided, you know what, I'll join you. We've got a safety car, I'll break the front wing. Maybe that will fix his pace problems a little bit, but does close up to the back of the snake. Unfortunately, though, we are going to get one more lap under safety car, which isn't what we want to see, but we are going to get a very exciting restart. Hayden is going to come into the pits for the second time, though. What is this going to be for? I would be surprised if he managed to pick up damage driving under safety car conditions. That certainly would be a bad omen for the rest of his playoffs, but new set of intermediate tyres going on.
Yeah, interesting call from the Ferrari there. We know how chaotic their strategies can be sometimes in real life. Emulating that here in the esports side as well, I believe. Just a few hundredths of a second quicker is a new set of intermediate tyres around here at the moment, according at least to my data on my screen. But Hayden Gullis deciding that he wants the better wear tyres. He will catch up to the pack, of course, as they just head their way through turn number 4 down towards the castle section, and Hayden Gullis only a few seconds behind them.
Yep, should catch up. The safety car you would expect will come in at the end of this lap. We'll be able to go racing once again with El Takuman leading Punju off the line, both of whom need a big result here. Sat 7th and 8th in the championship and are a little bit detached. Obviously, we've only had 2 races, but Takuman 4 points behind Dale and 5 points off the playoffs, and Punju a further point back. So that's... If it's another bad race for them, that's getting close to being a whole race victory away, or a whole podium finish, away from those playoffs. You can't get detached at this stage.
Indeed, it's he's got to try and lock in now, focus up for the remainder of this race and the 2 races still to come. In the chat saying Hayden is clearly in Ben Daly's Ferrari. Well, not sure we can comment too much on that from the commentary box, but Hayden deciding with the Scarlet Ferrari this time around, and potentially some bad omens around it.
No comment, I think, is the best way to sum that one up. Moving swiftly away from those stereotypes. Hopefully, fingers crossed, safety car will be in.
Indeed, hopefully everyone's caught back up as we round turn number 16. That's exactly where the line normally is in race control, letting us know that the safety car will be peeling off the pack and allowing El Tacoman to become our effective race leader here. The Haas, how often do we see this? A Haas leading a Grand Prix.
How often do we see this, though? This restart at Baku is usually complete and utter carnage, with everyone being backed up down this massive main straight. I don't think we're going to get going for another 30 seconds, maybe.
Yeah, Tacoman looking to make it as late as possible. And this is going to be absolute carnage. El Tacoman does go before the final corner, and everyone is going to have to get really onto the power as early as they can. It's a straight line charge down towards turn number 1 for the Haas, being chased by the Papaya McLaren of Punju. And actually quite a gap forming between the two of them already. Curbs not too far off the back of the McLaren heading down into here, and Dale has been caught out just a little bit. Curbs contact with the McLaren heading into turn 1. That pushes Punju wide. Lucky to avoid the wall, but that's going to pucker the McLaren's opportunities heading down into turns 3 and 4, as it looks like Dale is trying to sniff a bit of the action here as well.
Yep, the AlphaTauri was squirming around on the exit of turn 1, trying to find any kind of room to get ahead of the McLaren. Punju helped on his way off the circuit by Curbs, dropping down into second place. I thought El Tacoman went a little bit too early on the restart. Turns out he judged it to absolute perfection because he caught Punju out perfectly.
He did indeed. Curbs now trying to make a challenge up to the lead of this race to charge down that Haas who's leading F1 Alex, I think, and Hayden once again going side by side through not the easiest of corners. These two need to start cooling their jets if they want to work together, get higher up in these podium opportunities and escape Formula 2.
Absolutely, they've got to really put their foot to the floor. But look out in front, 1.7 seconds. This is the ideal start for Tacoman, and Curbs is going to be under pressure for the majority of these next couple of laps, because obviously no DRS, of course, so we can't get dragged back towards El Tacoman. He's going to have to do all of that work himself.
He will indeed. No DRS drag reduction system becoming available in the wet. And El Tacoman losing a couple of tenths through Castle section. Probably best to take it a little bit cautious as avoid going into the wall, as we saw Hayden do just a few laps ago. Everyone made it through nice and calmly this time around as we lead lap 5 here of 13, rounding the final few corners. And it's still El Tacoman from Curbs from Punju.
And interestingly enough, further back, it is Chesnoid Gaming dropping off the back of this train, 1 second away from Matty D13 and under pressure from Hayden Gullis. So unfortunately, Ches unable to transfer the pace that he had in China into the streets of Azerbaijan, and could be losing another position as well as the Ferrari gets very close, going through the kinks up towards the main start-finish straight.
Yeah, Matty D just losing a lot of time compared to Dale on the straights here. He was 2 tenths heading through the final corners, 19 and 20, and lost almost 3 or 4 tenths heading down that start-finish straight. The Red Bull clearly designed to go much faster through the corners. Dale potentially going for a lower wing setup as we see him a little kiss with the barrier. Not, fortunately, I don't think, getting any damage, and it will be the Red Bull getting past its sister. Actually, no, Dale does have damage. Front right end plate missing from the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, it did look like quite a big whack on the exit of turn number 2, and it could be curtains for Dale's race, almost doing it again down into the left-hander, sorry, turn number 3, got a car park. What's gone on here? It's El Tacoman and Curbs. El Tacoman's gone from first down into last. What has gone on there?
I have no idea. El Tacoman leading this race. He ends up facing the wrong way. It's absolute carnage for the Haas. I pray for Gunther Steiner's door at the moment. But Hayden Gullis sneaking up from last place on this grid, up into P4, using the carnage to his advantage. And up, nearing the podium positions, is this Ferrari.
And the race, as absolutely as Dale's out, he's crashed in the castle section. What a chaotic couple of seconds. We've got a safety car out for the second time. F1 Alex for the second time in the race, missing a considerable amount of front downforce and front wing. El Tacoman is going to be able to catch up to the back of the pack. Dale, though, is the first retirement of the race. That is a crazy 30 seconds or so. Car park going through, I think it was turns 5 and 6 maybe? Oh no, turn number 4, sorry. And then another car park in the castle section. This race is completely flipped on its head. It's fallen right into Punju's hands. He was third before the carnage started, now leading the race.
Yeah, it's all flipped on its head. Hayden Gullis found himself in P8 just a few laps ago. It was carnage with El Tacoman facing the wrong way round this street circuit, and then Mr. Dale having his Charles Leclerc fair moment into the castle section. That's really going to hamper his opportunities, and I can probably tell you he is absolutely fuming right now.
Especially because that is going to be 0 points added to his tally. And that is going to put him under enormous pressure going into Bahrain and Las Vegas. What the safety car does do, though, is it gives us a chance to see everyone put on a new set of tyres.
Yeah, interesting call from everybody here. Probably another set of the intermediates. It's still too wet to risk those dries and not wet enough for the blue-walled wet weather tyres. And a little bit of a change up in the grid here. Nothing too major, but quite a few wings being replaced as well.
I think people would have been caught out a little bit by what went on there. I'm sure we'll get some replays later on, of course, and seeing the car park that went on. But yeah, front wing change for Curbs. He was certainly involved. We saw him getting involved with Tacoman. Maybe, I'm trying to speculate what it was. Was it the Haas spinning? Because I think there was a comfortable margin of around a second between Tacoman and Curbs. So maybe a mistake from Taco, and then Curbs with nowhere to go running into him. We'll have to wait and see what our man on the ground, F1 Scott, has to say about it.
Indeed, let's go have a little word with Scott. Indeed, I believe he has the replay of what happened. The man with his ear to the ground. Scott, take it away.
And I have unmuted myself successfully. Okay, what we're about to see is just actually broke my heart. It's so unfortunate for Tacoman. Here's what happened. Oh, sorry, I need to share this tab instead. I'm very sorry about that. This is actually a bit heartbreaking to see. This is what happened to Taco.
Oh no.
He just spun it. He just spun it. Curbs goes right into the back of him. You see the disappointment in this man's face. I have Curbs' point of view for you as well. Nothing Curbs could have done, sadly. This was it. This is all he could do. Here we see it. Ouch. Wing. Gone. So sad. So sad. And finally, what you will want to see is Dale doing Dale things. Very unfortunate. We've seen real drivers do it in real life. We've seen sim drivers do it. Straight there, boom, wheel off, castle section in front of so many people. Unfortunate, Dale, I wouldn't want to be you right now.
No, that's a real head in the hands moment there for Mr. Dale in that Red Bull. It will be 0 points, for the AlphaTauri driver. Just getting my car slightly confused there. But Matty D in the actual Red Bull finds himself in P2, just behind Punju, leading from Chesnoid and Hayden Gullis respectively.
Yep, that was really interesting to watch there. Calamity corner, of course, in the castle section for Dale, just misjudging it, clipping the inside wall and then clattering into the outside wall. Race over for the AlphaTauri, down to 7 drivers. And yes, so unfortunate for Tacoman, just locking the rears. And once you do that in these cars, round you go. And yeah, Curbs just a bit of a passenger there, nowhere to go.
Indeed, really unfortunate for the Williams driver. He was having such a fantastic race up in P2, and obviously that contact with El Tacoman brings him, after a wing change, all the way down to P5. Chesnoid up into P3 after all those stops. He's managed to avoid all the carnage, all the chaos, and that has really paid off for him.
Absolutely. The field has absolutely flipped on its head. Ches, the main beneficiary, of course, jumping a few places. He has overtaken Hayden there, which I think was in the pits, unless I've missed something there. But yeah, Curbs was also very lucky that he's still in the race, of course, because it was a big hit. And sometimes, with the way that the damage model works, you can lose a wheel from that.
Yeah, indeed. All of our drivers just obviously, again, on a fresh set of intermediates. Just being cautious, careful, and we saw on the pit strategies at the start of this race, we could predict a pit stop, but not quite in these circumstances.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe have another safety car as well. That's the way that the race has gone so far, and with what will be 5 laps to go once the safety car comes in on this lap, which it should do, of course, because everyone has caught up. We will be able to go race again, and I wonder if Punju is going to try and employ the same strategy that El Tacoman did on the previous restart, because it worked out very nicely for the Haas.
Yeah, indeed. The restart will get underway, hopefully very quickly. Hopefully we have got some potentially live standings in the chat. This could be interesting. New standings links, so at least for us to be able to see. Let's try and keep an eye on that. Hopefully that will fix all of our issues, and unfortunately, Dale with that DNF, not much he can do later on. Yeah, apologies for the typing there. That was on my end.
It's it's a bit of fun. Shows how real everything is, of course.
Yeah,
Safety
exactly.
car in though.
Indeed it is. Punju will lead us away here. Let's see what he does in terms of a slow or a quick restart. We saw El Takaman took them pretty much to the penultimate corner when he wanted to restart this race, but now it's all up to the McLaren driver to set this grid off once again. It will be 5 laps of racing when they cross the start-finish line, and Matty D will be eagerly chomping at the bit to continue this race as he went through Austria, picking up some very, very crucial points.
We've spoken about sprint races. This is certainly going to be like it, and we are going once again for the 3rd time in Azerbaijan. Is going to be Punju in that McLaren to cross the line, leading the way, but is under a little bit of pressure from Matty. I don't think he's timed the safety car restart to perfection. He's not going to be able to send it up the inside. What is happening behind them is a duel for 3rd and 4th place. Hayden trying to keep it out of the barriers, doesn't want to find himself in there for the 2nd time this evening, but thankfully Ches holding on to 3rd, and thankfully Hayden keeps it out of the wall. A little bit of a send maybe from curves like the inside. No, the Williams backs out of it.
Yeah, very smart racing from all of the drivers here. Just being careful and considerate not to go too wide through those decreasing radius corners. F1 Alex getting past curbs, though, up into P5. He'll have the inside line here. Can he keep it? Later on the brakes, pushes that Williams a little bit wide. It's fair, though. It's rubbing and racing, and F1 Alex will have to hold the outside line here. Can he keep it within the walls? He does indeed, and gets a little bit better traction than the Williams this time around.
Yep, through we go. Curbs tumbling a little bit there, dropping down into 6th place. F1 Alex will be looking to make up from that blunder earlier on, going into the same barrier as Hayden, of course, crashing in sympathy for each other. And the Ferrari, speaking of, still right underneath the rear wing of that Aston Martin, will be hoping to get through pretty sharpishly.
Yeah, lots of corners still to navigate. Lots of carnage can still happen. Everyone navigates through there nice and calmly again. But up at the front of the field, it's Natty D versus Punju. This is for the lead of the race. No drag reduction system, of course, coming in effect whilst we're still in the wet weather. Hopefully we'll see it next race out. But for now, Matty D will have to rely on slipstream. We saw last time around when he was facing Mr. Dale on this same straight, the car not quite set up to deal with straight line speed.
Yep, could be under huge pressure. Something I have noticed, though, is it drying out a little bit?
I think it certainly is. The rain has calmed down. We were told in chat a while ago the engineers were saying 10 more minutes of rain, but we weren't expecting it to dry up before the end of the race. But Matty D gets much better traction out of the final corner, out of turn 19 and 20. But again, look, he's just losing out on straight line speed. He doesn't quite have it on Punju.
Yeah, not very realistic to see the McLaren pretty speedy in a straight line. Bit of a slide on the exit for Matty, but he does hold it around the outside, and that is the lead of the race. Punju dropping down into 2nd place. Got some jostling for position further back as Curbs falls to the back of the pack, but he's going to try and hold it up the inside. Clatters into that massive curb on the inside and might drop down into 7th place. We try and get it back. Side by side we go down this 2nd back straight. Usually there'll be a helping hand of DRS, but of course we are in intermediate conditions, so no help at all there. Down into turn 3 we go. Curbs should be able to hold this on the inside, and does.
Yeah, good bit of battling side by side there between the Williams and the Haas driver. They know how crucial each individual point can be, especially since we've seen the did not finish of Mr. Dale in that AlphaTauri. Points are very, very crucial. I don't think we'll see anyone here pitting for fastest lap. Currently, I believe Matty D does hold it after that initial pass through Punju at the end of lap number 9 here. But Matty D still not being able to break away from the McLaren.
Yep, Punju doing a really nice job of just holding on to the rear wing of the Red Bull. And this would be a massive result for Punju, of course. Currently last in the standings. Will obviously jump ahead of Dale with that DNF, but should pick up another few places as well. And will catapult him back up towards that top 4, which is what he was needing. And probably what he was hoping that he would be achieving before we started this evening's action.
Yeah, Punju having
he clouts the barrier there.
He does. I'm not sure if there's any damage there from McLaren. He's had a fantastic Formula 2 season. He'll be looking to make that jump up into Formula 1. Fortunately, no damage there for the McLaren. Punju just getting away with a little love tap to the barrier, but it has increased the advantage that Matty D has on this race now, up to 1.1 seconds. And down the start-finish straight they go for lap number 10 of 13 here. Punju could be under pressure from Chesnoid Gaming as they all start to equal out a little bit, but Hayden Gullis looking to make a move on Chesnoid, moves to the inside before turn number 1, and I think gets that move quite easily. No, he doesn't actually. Chesnoid looks to brake late, but I think that's all Hayden's.
Yep, through we go up into the podium places for the Ferrari. Ches was looking pretty handy on the straights though, but yeah, not with the confidence to try and hang it around the outside. Probably fairly smart in that decision as well. Punju, that was a big mistake earlier on though, dropping out of 1 second, tiny bit of damage, so that could be crucial. This could be crucial though. The battle between third and fourth continues on the run down into turn number 3. Is Chesnoid going to try and swing it around the outside? He does this time, keep it in there. Will he tap the barrier? We couldn't quite see it from the camera angle. He's got to be careful of F1 Alex as well behind, going from attack to defense in the matter of a couple of seconds, but does stay in 4th place for the time being.
Yeah, F1 Alex, one of those drivers that you can rely on to be quite consistent here in the F1 and the F2 cars, having a fantastic season, much like Punju in the Formula 2, and again, a driver that knows his stuff in the F1 cars. He's looking to the inside there on Chesnoid, decides quite rightly against it, but a little bit of, again, a love tap with the barrier for the Aston Martin of Chesnoid, not being able to replicate his F1 commanding win that we saw around China.
I feel like I sound a little bit like Gary Neville with my oohs and ahs as people tap the barrier, which is obviously very easy to do around this track. Hopefully he doesn't do it in the next turn 15 corner, which is absolutely abhorrent. I personally absolutely loathe this corner, but we're going to have to deal with it, of course. Down we go. Second for the Mercedes Ches. I put the commentator's curse on him, unfortunately, because he does go deep into 15, hits the barrier for the second time in the space of about 15 seconds. Will there be damage this time for the Aston Martin? It didn't look like that hard a hit, but you never know.
No, I think he managed to survive it this time around. I'm sure we'll be able to tell if a team radio comes through in a few moments. Not looking like too much damage to that front wing, but this has pulled El Taco Man back into the battle for P for the Haas after an initially poor start, getting right back up to the tail of F1 Alex and Chesnoid as well. Down the start-finish straight they run to start the penultimate lap of racing here. 12 of 13, and down the inside looks around the outside looks F1 Alex. Just keeps it out the barrier, and the Mercedes very lucky there.
Maybe an extra coat of paint on those Pirelli intermediate tyres would have seen the Mercedes in the wall. Ches fighting very hard, tries to hold on to it, but inadvertently allows the Haas of El Tacoman to sneak through up the inside and get up into 4th place. Brilliant stuff there from the Haas driver. Opportunistic stuff up the inside, gets ahead of both drivers. F1 Alex will be absolutely steaming with that. Not happy to be caught up behind the Aston Martin. Ches, broken wing, so it did happen at one of those points around the previous lap, and this could be his chances of staying in F1 starting to fade away, because he could be 7th place in a matter of corners.
Indeed it could. The chances diminishing with every passing corner. You see he's going through there ever so tentatively. He can't seem to pull the power, pull the speed through the corners, especially in these wet conditions. The Aston Martin is suffering. He'll have one other opportunity, of course, in that Aston Martin car round Vegas in just about half an hour's time. But for now, he is suffering. F1 Alex chomping out the bit, and Curbs has caught up to the pack as well. So everybody is in this fight.
Oh, round F1 Alex is round on the exit of the castle section, and that is the opportunity gone for trying to get into 5th place. Maybe getting slightly frustrated, tucked up underneath the rear wing of the Aston Martin, and that will probably leave him 7th place for this race, which is bitterly disappointing for Alex. Got another couple of races to go, but going to leave himself with a lot of work to do. This is the battle for 2nd and 3rd, though. Hayden pushing the McLaren round this final sector. Legendary battle, Ferrari versus McLaren, and it could be the red car getting ahead of that papaya.
Yeah, battle for the ages. Like you said, McLaren versus Ferrari. Down the straight they go for the penultimate time. It's Hayden Gullis who will have the slipstream from the McLaren. He moves to the outside for turn number 1. He just doesn't have the straight line speed, though, on this occasion. He can't seem to keep up with Punju without that slipstream. He breaks late, though. There's contact. Punju spent round. Into the wall he goes. Contact. Hayden Gullis, rightly or wrongly, up into P2 there. El Tacoman says thank you, free position on both of them. So Tacoman up in P2 now. Punju dropping down positions down into P6.
That could be game over for Punju. It's going to be another small handful of points. Hayden returning the favour after what happened in China, of course, when Punju went into the back of the Ferrari. Hayden doing the same there on the final lap, and that could be it for Punju. Hayden carries on in... as F1 Alex is out, that might be in the pits, actually. I've got a little bit too excited there. But yeah, Hayden carries on without any damage, you would imagine, and maybe only his pride is at stake at this point.
Yeah, I think the chat slightly getting a bit of grievous towards Hayden Gullis there, but obviously driver up into P2 in contact with Punju. Punju down in P6 now, and it would be a really incredible recovery drive. He has lost all of his front wing, of course, so I don't think the McLaren driver in that Papaya car has any chance of a podium here. Matty D commanding another race around Baku, 5.8 seconds clear from Hayden and El Taco Man.
Yep, been incredibly comfortable once he got up into the lead. Punju, though, got a feel for him. It was a really, really solid race. Down in 6th, that'll probably be where he finishes. Hayden's got to be careful, though. Got to stay ahead of El Tacaman, who's come back really nicely. Had that unfortunate blunder earlier on when he locked the rears and flipped it round 360 degrees. Up on the podium and could potentially, because we've seen that Hayden's straight line speed isn't amazing, steal 2nd place right over the line.
We could. I think Punju's lost it further back, and yes, he has. Even more drama for the McLaren driver, but we'll go up the front. It's Matty D in the Rebels, over 6 seconds clear now of the further back two. Hayden Gullis and El Tacaman will continue to fight it out for 2nd and 3rd, but it is Matty D that wins race number 3, but Hayden Gullis just holding on to P2 here. El Tacaman will not have the legs to make it to the line. He will secure P2. El Taco in 3rd. Chesnoid comes home in P4. Curbs in P5. And then you have to feel for Punju here. A poor finish to the race for the Papaya McLaren. And he will come across the line. Points, though, secured, albeit not as many as he was hoping for.
Hugely unfortunate. Wasn't his fault, of course. And yeah, that could be Punju's hopes of getting up into F1. Curtailed by that incident on the final lap. But Matty D is in a commanding position now and will be comfortably heading the championship standings. That could be it all sorted.
It could be. We'll wait and see what happens later on. I'm sure we'll get word from F1 Scott as to how our standings look after race number 3 of 5 here in the Creator Series playoffs, just before we head to Bahrain for another outing in the Formula 2 cars. Space Ghost in chat saying P2 or P3 was on the cars, and it absolutely was. Definitely a podium opportunity for the Papaya McLaren. Matty D again rounding out a fantastic race weekend. Not only getting the win here, but getting fastest lap as well.
Yeah, and got it pretty comfortably. Wasn't under huge pressure for that fastest lap. 6.2 seconds the advantage. Then the pairs behind coming over the line, separated by a 10th respectively, I think it was. We saw Curbs right at the death pushing the Aston Martin of Ches over the line. Ches will be pretty satisfied with 4th place. Picks up another handful of points, 6 points, I believe, for that. And that should keep him, for the time being at least, inside those top 4 places.
Indeed it should. We'll go have a look at standings in just a little moment, but we're going to go once again to Scott. Scott, I believe you've got some replays for us.
I do. I was trying my best to keep up with everything that was going on here. First off, I want to bring us on to Hayden. This is just that last lap there. We can see exactly what happened. He's just missed this braking point. It's very hard to watch for poor Punju, who is a great streamer. We all know him. Sadly, just gets touched at the back there. You can just see Hayden's face. He's just like, he knows exactly what he's done. It's a very tight face he's pulling. If you want to see what that was like from Punju's POV, I also have that going back to this man's amazing 3-screen setup. Even more beautiful way to watch such a hard to watch. Because the wing comes off and you're just like, no, Punju. And he even says it in the clip as well. He's like, hi, F1, hi, I'm back, or something like that. It's very hard to see. We did see a couple more incidents in that race. Let's just grab them while I've got you here. This was F1 Alex having a kind of awkward time. You thought it would have been just those corners there, but no, he comes round this right-hander, touches the wall, maybe puts his foot down too much, takes half his wing off. Very unfortunate for F1 Alex, putting him at the back. And finally, something that we didn't have earlier on was Hayden Gullis lap 2 shenanigans and what happens with him. Here we go. This is what happens. Coming down to turn 1, misses the braking point completely. Hello, Alex, and boom. Wing off. He's very lucky that caused a safety car. And that is all from me.
Well, thank you, Scott, for another fantastic insight to what is going on in our drivers racing. Always a pleasure to see it from the driver's perspective. Some fantastic faces being pulled from Hayden Gullis there, from both scrunched up to the absolute shock that you see on his face when he realises he could do nothing about going into that barrier.
I think the worst one, though, Punju's just total deadpan look when he realises what's happened. Got a feel for him. The feels are out. I hope that he can try and recover from this. He's 7 points away from 4th place at the moment in the playoffs. So 2 races to go. He's got his work cut out. But yeah, with some of the tracks coming up, there's definitely an opportunity for him to try and get some decent results. Of course, we'll be starting on pole position again as well.
He will do indeed. Speaking of pole position, let's go have a look at how our standings look after race number 3. Hopefully they should be working. There we go. They haven't been updated though. I think as Matty D still on 19 points. So this is how they are after race number 2. So Matty D getting 13 more points on top of this, so he will be on 32 points if my maths is correct, so still be leading the championship. Everything else, we'll wait and see how our drivers line up on the grid for an F2 race around Bahrain. Now, F2 in Bahrain is quite an interesting race, completely different from how the the F1 cars tend to drive around there.
I did the commentary for the F2 race around Bahrain. It was chaotic right up until the line. I think at the end of the feature race, we had a four-way drag race out of the final corner. It was absolutely chaotic. We had Adam Sanderson, Devon Butler disqualified early on. Absolute carnage. Hayden, I think, was involved in a few incidents in that race as well, as was Matty D13. And coincidentally, they were both with Rob, Unstopped Rob, the eventual champion. So yeah, this could be very, very interesting. We could see some whoopsies maybe as we go around the lap. Just to give people an update on the standings, we do have them off screen, of course. It is Matty D13, like you said, TK, on 32 points. He's 9 ahead of Hayden Gullis, but more importantly, 17 clear of El Tacaman in 5th place.
Yeah, Curbs in P4 at the moment, just teetering once again above that line. 16 points for himself. Currently, as it stands, it will be El Tacaman, F1 Alex, Dale and Punju getting relegated down into Formula 2.
It's quite nice that we've got a 50-50 split, isn't it? We've got 50% of the F2 drivers currently going up and then 50% of the F1 drivers staying up. That's probably that shows how competitive this really is between these guys.
Yeah, it really shows how fast a lot of our drivers are. You'd expect sometimes the F1 drivers to be dominating in the F1 races. That hasn't been the case. Matty D has shown he's a bit of a jack of all trades around these last 2 tracks in both Austria and Baku, leading the race quite dramatically. Do you reckon we'll see the same here around Bahrain, maybe in a dry track?
Well, you would expect it to be dry, of course, but we did see rain in Bahrain a few weeks ago, of course. This is well, it didn't go brilliantly for Matty, I have to say, in the F2 race. He came 4th in the sprint, but then only 8th in the feature race. Got caught up in a few incidents. Hayden, of course, if you remember, back-to-back won the feature race and the sprint race. So if there's anyone that you would put as your favourite, it is probably Big Guns Hayden Gullis. Punji with a couple of 10th places. Nothing really to speak of there. And then F1 Alex with a 6th and a 7th. So those are the F2 drivers. Obviously, the F1 drivers didn't take part in that race, but Dale did pick up a 9th place in Bahrain. So got to bear that in mind as well.
Yeah, a lot of still to play for. It was an interesting race in Bahrain in the Formula 2 cars. One I actually took part in as a driver, which was an interesting one to say the same. A little bit of chaos between Rob and Hayden once again. But as you can see, look on socials, that is well documented. Speaking of socials, if you look at all the links above us, you want to go check out more of what Creator Series are doing, you can check us out at all the links above. We are live, I believe, on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter as well, if I remember correctly. Anything else, Instagram and TikTok as well, for all of the extra bits that you don't normally get to see.
Absolutely, get involved. We've had some brilliant racing so far. The first 3 have been incredibly exciting, and hopefully the final 2 are equally as action-packed. Bahrain, a track that lends itself very well to overtaking. Vegas, a track that lends itself very well to carnage.
Indeed, it will be a fantastic selection of tracks, I believe, chosen by a random wheel spinner, so no one's had any undue influence on these tracks, but our drivers, once again, just getting themselves set up for Bahrain, just making sure everyone's in the lobby nice and calmly. And I think we might be missing a driver, and F1 Alex has a bit of an issue. We currently don't have him racing here.
Would not be ideal. Hopefully he does manage to get in the lobby. From your perspective, because obviously you just said that you were part of the F2 race and your pace was very strong in that F2 race. What was that like? Because F2 we know can be quite chaotic. How was it trying to weave your way through what can only be described sometimes as moving chicanes?
It was certainly a challenge. The cars drive completely differently to what we're used to in the Formula 1 cars. They rely so much more on gearing, mechanical grip in the corners. And we quite often see turn 10 causing chaos in real life. We saw it with Charles Leclerc just a few weeks ago, but in the Formula 2 cars, it's even more chaos. You've got to be so careful on those brakes. Avoid locking up, and you will go wide. But I think we might see again some more track limits penalties coming into effect here, much like we did at Austria.
Absolutely. Turn 4 is probably the place that we're going to be thinking about the most. Obviously, that's now famous for what happened between Hamilton and Verstappen. Opening round of 2021, what a good race that was. Other places, maybe turn 11, if you're a little bit lazy on turning, just struggle to get the car rotated, you could drift out wide there and pick up a penalty or a warning, of course. I wonder if we could see some incidents down into turn 1, maybe a repeat of something we saw in the real-life F1 race with Hülkenberg and Stroll.
You never know. We'll wait and see. Turns 14 and 15, of course, where the dramatic last lap action happened here in the F2 feature race. It was Devil Noob going for a late lunge on Hayden, just sliding past the Prema driver, and Hayden going on to win that in a very dramatic finish, I do say so myself. But yeah, drivers just getting themselves set up. We will be going racing very, very shortly. Yeah, another one to look forward to.
We had a couple of spins out of 14 and 15, if I remember correctly as well. It might have been F1 Alex that was one of the drivers that got a little bit too trigger happy on the throttle and dropped it out of 14. That could be a place that we've got to be careful of. Obviously, like you've said, traction is quite limited in these F2 cars, so got to be careful of that. And then, like you said, and as people are pointing out in the chat as well, turns 9 and 10, saw Leclerc struggling through there with brakes. If you lock up, go off the road, could be seeing some warnings for that as well.
Indeed, it will. So we'll just go and hop across to our partial race scene. We'll keep our lovely faces on the camera just in case we don't have a formation lap like we did last time out in Austria. We don't want to be caught out by the gun this time around. But yeah, hopefully, heading into this race, confidence high for some drivers, not necessarily as high for some others.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic works. Is Punju going to finally be able to translate some pretty decent pace that he's shown in the first 3 races into a meaningful result, or will it be more of the same? We'll have to wait and see. It's so weird to look at Bahrain in the day. I know that's slightly off topic, but obviously it's been a night race for the last 10 years, I think now. It's almost nostalgic.
It is rather bizarre to see the bright blue sky beaming over Bahrain. I don't think we're going to have formation lap, so we'll go straight in. And we do have a formation lap this time around, which is always good news for our drivers.
Oh my goodness.
There is... Oh, okay. Not quite sure what's going on here.
Got a reversing Rodin Carlin car there. It's only seems to be... Who's that going? So is that Curbs that's most going? No, it's El Taka, man. Interesting stuff going on there.
I wonder potentially if we're going for some...
Well, we've only got 7 drivers in the lobby. That could be what it is.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going for some form of restart. Just waiting to see if I can get confirmation of that. No confirmation of anything at the moment. Commentators chat. Nope, nothing at the moment. So, we'll wait and see what happens. Maybe drivers just getting a little bit excited there on the formation lap. But Tom, I'll let you take it away here for the race.
Well, we've only got 7 drivers at the moment. Still no F1 Alex. We'll keep you updated if we do get a restart, of course. I think we are going to be restarting. The light's taking an absolute age to get going, though. They've forgotten to press the button again.
Yep, the button man not there. He's just making sure... Well, he's expecting 20 cars on the grid. He has 7.
Well, he's probably expecting 8 and we've only got 7. I think we are restarting, though, and F1 Alex will get that opportunity to jump back in that Van Amersfoort car. We'll be starting from 3rd place, of course, down in 6th in the standings on 14 points, just a couple behind Curbs, as we see this is a massive case of deja vu. I think we've seen this before.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going for T, if that translation to cricket means anything for anyone here. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to go for a race restart. So we'll go back to all 3 of us on the camera just while we get ourselves reset up with the lobby. Scott, is there any insight that you can give us from your end as to what potentially has happened here?
Yes, just because our drivers aren't in, which is really great that we're able to start this off and get everyone in. Oh, pardon me. One of those days for me, because obviously this close into the championship for the playoffs, you don't really want to be missing out on a full race, so love that from the F1 guys. Yeah, restart in the lobby, make sure everyone's in, and we'll do this right, because it's going to be tough enough going around Bahrain in these F2 cars.
Of course, so there we go then. Confirmation of a race restart. We kind of predicted it when Alex wasn't on the grid, maybe some technical issues suffering for the Van Amersfoort driver there. I am looking at the grid after everyone has retired. We'll wait and see, get everyone sorted back out into the lobby. I think everyone will probably stay in the lobby as I did see Alex has accidentally clicked spectator when they did start, so that might have been the issue. We'll wait and get confirmation of that as everyone sorts themselves out. In the chat, let us know how you're enjoying this race going so far. Race number 4 here for the Creator Series playoffs. My bad, I completely forgot my words there, but let's go have a look. Just a reminder of how the lineups are and what is at stake for our drivers. There's our drivers
There we go.
once again. And Tom, why don't you chat us through what could potentially happen here?
Well, top 4 either retaining your spot in the F1 series or moving up into the F1 series. And as we said before, current top 2 in the championship, Matty 13 and Hayden Gullis, currently on course for that promotion that they would have been desiring before we started. Chesnoid Gaming and Curbs currently hold the other 2 spots for the Season 6 F1 Creator Series, and then the other 4 either remain or get demoted down into F2, or they can choose to take up a reserve role for one of the F1 teams. We'll have to wait and see what goes on there. It's very close, though, in this battle for especially the final playoff spot. Curbs, El Takaman and F1 Alex in 4th, 5th and 6th, separated by just 2 points. Dale a further 3 points back, courtesy of that DNF. We can see most of it there. We just haven't got Punju at the bottom, but everything else, I believe, is correct there. No, Hayden's got 1 more point.
We're being told that F1 Alex has had to take a step back from Bahrain, so we wish him all the best. He will not be racing. It is just 7 cars that will lead us into this Formula 2 race here in Bahrain. So how that surely then changes the mentality on to a few of our drivers. They've got less cars on the grid to contend with than they were potentially expecting.
Yeah, and it's a big opportunity for the F2 drivers or the F1 drivers, sorry, that aren't necessarily in the best position to get some good points. It'll be beneficial for Punju as well, starting from pole. Got Dale behind him, which, I mean, you never know what can happen there. But yeah, everyone will get bumped up a place with Alex unfortunately missing out. We hope that everything is okay there. But yeah, Matty D13 at the back, got some work to do. Hayden, we've seen it in the sprint races in the F2 series. If you watch that, they are usually reverse grid championship order for the sprint. He's able to work his way through the pack very nicely indeed. So don't be surprised to see Hayden challenging for the win at the end of the race.
Indeed, we saw Maddie D and Hayden in the in the F2 feature race last few weeks ago, battling for the win here. Like you said, maybe some unexpected names coming in here. Dale, hopefully in the dry, will be looking to make an impression, as will potentially Punju. Some drivers looking to save their F1 seat, and they've got only a couple races left to do it.
Absolutely. And if I remember correctly, we haven't actually spoke about it, but Matty 13 and Hayden did actually make contact in that sprint race, I believe. So yeah, got a bit of pass with each other. Maybe we'll see some revenge enacted. Hopefully not, of course, because Matty's in a fantastic position, like we saw from the graphic. 32 points, 17 clear of the cutoff zone. He could, if I get this correct, he could confirm his promotion in this race.
I believe so. We'll double check that and get confirmation as soon as it happens, as we just get ourselves loaded back into the lobby. Obviously 7 cars once again taking us away round Bahrain. But yeah, history between 2 of our drivers here in Bahrain, Matty D and Hayden Gullis, and a few other drivers looking just to get some good points on the board with 1 driver less.
Should we get everyone in the chat to get their top 4 predictions in? We've got 2 races to go, 1 F2 race to go, 1 F1 race to go. Who does everybody think is going to get those top 4 places? I'll just quickly recap the scores for you. Matty 13 leading on 32, then comes Hayden on 23, Ches with 20 and Curbs on 16. That is your top 4. El Takaman on 15, and then F1 Alex, who unfortunately is skipping this race, on 14. Dale with 11 and Punju on 9. Who do we think is going to get in there?
I think it's going to be real close. We'll hopefully be able to pull up the live standings if I can do that just 1 second. Got to find the right button for it. There we go. Live standings up on the bottom of your screen. Hopefully that will come in. There we go. Matty D leading, like you said, Hayden and Chesnoid and Curbs, your top 4 at the moment. El Tacoman only 1 point off keeping his F2 seat, and I know he will definitely be chomping at the bit to try and keep that.
I know who Meraki Jake is supporting, if everybody looks in the chat there. First place, not Hayden. Second place, not Hayden. Third place, not Hayden. Fourth place, not Hayden.
I think that confirms that 5th place is definitely Hayden for who he's supporting then.
Yes. Well, I think he's probably happy with Hayden in 8th place, let's be honest with that. But
yeah, just a reminder.
that's going to happen.
We have indeed got a formation. That's fine. We'll go through that in just one moment. Just a reminder of how our points do look for this afternoon. It's first place gets 12 points. Second place gets 10. Third place gets 8 points. Fourth place gets 6. Fifth place gets 4 points. Sixth place gets 3. Seventh place will get 2 points. There's no 8th place in this race. And fastest lap does get an additional bonus point. So that could be very crucial for some of our drivers.
Absolutely, that's going to be very important. With how close it is, that 1 point is probably going to make all the difference. People in chat, who are the favourites? Matty is well, a common occurrence at the top of people's predictions. Ches and Curbs, they going to hold on to those spots in third and fourth. We'll have to wait and see. Ches has got a bit of work to do starting from fifth and Curbs fourth. Hopefully they don't make contact. That would be definitely not ideal.
Of course, and don't forget, you can join the conversation as well. Hashtag F1 Creator Series on all of the social platforms. If you do want to voice your opinions, get involved, and any clips that you do see, chuck them in the Discord. There's a high chance that our man Scott, with his ear to the ground, will feature them on the stream. No guarantees, but highly, highly likely, as Scott is a very nice man like that. But we're getting ourselves riled and ready here, round Bahrain. And it will be Punju leading away Dale, leading away El Taco Man.
What we saw from Austria was that people struggled to pick their braking zone. Now, obviously, we are in the dry, but these guys have just come back from driving F1 cars. And we saw that the transition was a little bit tricky for some of them going into Austria. I wonder if we'll see the same again, or whether they are nice and warmed up this time, and Dale will be able to stop the car. We've got Hayden going very wide there through turn number 10. Interesting racing lines. Thankfully, it is only the formation lap, so he doesn't lose all of that time, of course. And he is going to be under pressure to try and make his way through and hold on to that second place in the standings.
Yeah, Hayden Gullis knowing quite how literally you can heat up the tyres. He was drifting, I believe, through Bahrain when F2 raced there again just a few weeks ago, ending up in quite considerable tyre wear for the Prema car. But that means he won't be doing it this time around. They've got to be very delicate on the tyres if they want to last the full 11 laps around here. Yeah, that's really going to throw a different ring in the mix for some of our drivers. And let's have a look at tyres, speaking of them. Almost a 50-50 split.
Very, very interesting. 3 on softs, 3 on hard. So I think we know what the split's going to be off the line. The top 3 you would expect will pull away for the opening few laps or so, and then the hard runners will start to come back at them. Will those soft tyres make it to the end? Will they come into the pits? We'll have to wait and see as we are getting ready to start act number 4 of our 5-act play this evening, the penultimate round of the playoffs. And yeah, Matty D13, the favourite at the moment, but of course, starting from last place.
Indeed he is, on the hard tyre, deciding he's going to go long no matter what happens. Just in front of him, Chesnoid in the MP Motorsport car. Hayden Gullis will be the last to his grid spot, as everyone just tucks up nicely. No audacious angles being shown at the moment. Everyone lines up quite nicely, and it will be Punju on the left-hand side of your grid, right-hand side of your screen, who will lead us away. But Tom, I'll let you take this race start.
Hopefully we do see some 5 red lights. We do. Ahead of the drivers, Punji disqualifying, unable to park properly. And it is lights out, and away we go. Not a good start from El Tacoman, who we are on board with in third place. Very good start for Mr. Dale from second on the grid, and he could be taking the lead on the run down into turn number 1. Will Punji try and fight it around the outside? Dale very late on the brakes, as is that Red Bull livery car further back. Punju assumes the race lead once again, and it was Hayden losing a couple of places as well. El Tacoman dropping behind Curbs. Good start for the hard-shod Invicta car there in third place. Hayden squabbling with Matty D13. Look all the way over to the left-hand side. They're not given any room there between Hayden and Matty. I think that was squeezed all the way over to the right-hand side of the circuit, reminiscent of Alonso and Rosberg over 10 years ago in the real-life race. But it is still Punju leading Dale, and then Curbs up into third place.
Yeah, audacious defending there from the Prema of Hayden Gullis, getting past Matty D on that race start. Matty D looking for the switch back here, though, up alongside the Prema once again. The old rivals in the Formula 2 season. Hayden giving him absolutely the minimal amount of room that he can as they run through turn number 10 now. Contact between the two of them, and it looked like Dale's run very wide off turn 10 there.
Yep, making the most use of that runoff area at the exit of turn number 10. Hayden and Matty continuing to scrap very, very hard. Maybe a little bit personal as it gets to this stage. They've had some very, very aggressive battles in F2 over the course of this season, and that certainly shows no signs of stopping. Punju looking comfortable out in front there as especially with that little mistake from Dale. Curbs will be hoping to try and hang on to the coattails. This battle continues for 5th and 6th. Matty D13 up the inside. Hayden not getting a lot of space. Got to be careful of Ches behind them as well.
Yeah, we're being told that El Tacoman has issues with his 4-speed. There we go, team radio. No 4-speed feedback for El Tacoman. He's doing well to run up in P4 at the moment as Hayden and Matty once again decide to lock horns here as they run down to start lap number 2 of this 11-lap race. The Prema versus the Roland Carlin for the major points here.
I feel like this is a little bit stupid from the two of them, fighting so hard. Look again, the big squeeze implied by Matty on the run down to turn 1. Hayden looks like he's gone far too late on the brakes. And yes, the Prema is off into the pickets on the outside, drops back behind the Roland Carlin car, thankfully stays ahead of the MP Motorsport car of Chesnod Gaming. Look at how much time they've lost though, already 2.7 seconds back to El Tacoman, who we know has some issues with his setup. This is costing them a lot of time, and the two championship leaders fighting very hard over minor points-paying positions.
Yeah, just deciding it's going to be a battle between the two of them. They're both going to get through if things stay like this, if my maths is correct. But Hayden really not making it easy for our current playoffs leader. But on the front of the grid, though, Mr. Dale continues to try and put the challenge down to Punju in the lead of the race. Again, locking up ever so slightly as they run down to turn number 10. But Curbs on those hard tyres, not falling off quite as far as we had expected.
Punju doesn't look entirely comfortable at this stage, under pressure from Dale as we go into turn number 11. The Campos got very close to the back of the Dams car and still remains to be very close to the back of the Dams car. We saw squabbling between Matty and Hayden into this corner on the previous lap. I don't think we're going to see it again into turn 13. Dale just not close enough at this stage. 2 seconds the gap behind. Punju a little bit wide though, and that could open Dale up to a potential move into the final corner, or probably and more likely into turn number 1.
Yeah, a lot of our drivers not appreciating just how crucial slipstream is in these Formula 2 cars. They're moving out quite early, losing all of that slipstream ability, and Dale once again just has to slot behind Punju for the time being.
2-horse race out in front. Punju goes very defensive all the way over to the pit wall on the right-hand side. Dale says, thank you very much then. I'll use all of this space you've left me on the left-hand side. Who's going to be later on the brakes? It looks like it's the Dams of Punju, but look at Dale swinging it around the outside. Got the run through and gets the first place. And that is the lead changing hands as Dale gets up into the lead and Punju slips down into second place.
Yeah, fantastic overtake there from the Campos racer of Mr. Dale. He really needs this as a confidence builder. He saw some poor results last few races, and this could be enough to turn around his hopes and fortunes.
Looking further back as Punju's still glued to the back of that Campos car. Hayden has lost a lot of time. He's now 1.2 seconds behind Matty D13, dropped out of DRS range, and Ches a further 2.2 seconds back. So the championship protagonist at this stage not showing the best pace.
Yeah, not having the best race so far. Maybe the hard tyres not quite firing up as much as he would have liked. But yeah, going back to the front, this battle still continuing to run. Mr. Dale and Punju, there is the live standings, everything looking correct as things stand. Matty still holding on, and Tacoman up into P5.
Up the inside we go with Punju though, but he has gone a little bit too wide and Dale slipping back through. That was maybe the opportunity that Punju was looking for to get back up into the lead of the race. But Dale just says thank you very much on the exit, takes that position back and will hold on to it for the next couple of corners. But I think we could be seeing some flip-flopping out in front with the use of DRS.
Yeah, these two really want to try and work together now to avoid any potential attack from Curbs further behind them. The gap currently stands at 2.2 seconds. If they can start leapfrogging each other with DRS, work together, score some crucial points, and they can bring them both back into this playoff opportunity.
Yep, and we are going to see this change. Over to the right-hand side goes Dale, like Punju did on the previous lap. But it looks like this is going to be a little bit more comfortable for the Dams, maybe, unless the Campos is late on the brakes. Hayden's into the pits. Maybe a bit of damage picked up. Through goes Dale, uses the minuscule amount of room that he was left on the inside to try and stay alongside the Dams car, and they're going to fight it out up towards turn number 4. We saw some instance here in the F2 race a few weeks ago. Are they going to be able to keep it clean? Dale with the inside in the Campos car. Can the Dams hanging around the outside not give him space? Door slammed very firmly shut by Dale, and that is the lead remaining in the hands of the Campos driver.
It is indeed, these two fighting like cats and dogs at the moment. Curbs, though, allowing to catch up ever so slightly. They've made 2/10 on our race leader. Punju sent one down the inside of turn number 8. They're down towards turn number 10. They run. It will be Dale who has the inside line. He actually got a better bit of traction, and through turn 10, Dale goes in that Campos car, retaining the lead of this race. Those tyres surely being able to just hold on.
Got to speak about Hayden, though. He's pitted very early. Obviously didn't fancy those hard compound tyres. He's gone onto the softs. The undercut, you would imagine, is going to be pretty strong, but he's going to be on terrible tyres by the end of the race. Is that a little bit too early? Team radio from Punju, 2-track warnings already now. That could be very concerning for him as we're not even at the halfway stage.
Yeah, Mr. Dale on just the singular warning, so maybe he could use that to his advantage in the latter stages of this race. Punju has to be absolutely perfect with all of his moves. He looked down the inside there, decided against it into the final few corners, and Punju just biding his time here.
Behind them, I think El Takaman's managed to fire up those soft compound tyres. Is this going to be a dummy into the pits? Dale decides he is going to come in, and the Campos car is the first of the leading contenders to change tyres. Punju stays out, as does the group behind. We're going to see this battle between Curbs and El Takaman continue on the run down into turn number 1. Who's going to come out on top? I think Curbs decides he's not going to have that. Ches into the pits, 5-second penalty though. That's probably going to keep him in last place. A little bit of space around the outside, but off. That is El Takaman, is it? Yes, losing it on the exit, and that is a potential podium absolutely gone.
Yeah, I think he got a little bit beached there on the gravel as well, so really going to hinder the high-tech driver's chances of getting on the podium. He's still on those soft tyres, so will probably be looking to make a pit stop on to the hard. But yeah, podium opportunities puckered.
And it's starting to feel like we know what the order's going to be. Punju and Dale comfortably out in front. There's Hayden. We just caught it at the end there. Massive lock-up into turn number 1. He's ahead of Ches still, who obviously couldn't serve that 5-second penalty in the pit stops, but is probably going to be staying towards the back unless we get a safety car out of nothing. Gap out in front, 3.7 seconds for Punju. And you would imagine the downs will be in at the end of the lap.
Yeah, surely a lot of our drivers will head into the pit lane. It's around that sort of time where the tyres heading off to just get themselves onto a fresh set of rubbers and then last them out till the end of the race. Punju, like you said, on the 4-lap old softs, as is El Takaman, both probably looking to make an early pit stop.
Well, Taco's race has been ruined. We did see him reset to track there. Now, I don't know if that is a rule that would be enforced. People have picked it up in the chat as well, so we'll have to keep an eye out to see what the fallout from that is. But yeah, race absolutely ruined by that. Just a little bit of a mistake. Too ambitious on the loud pedal coming out of turns 2 and 3, and they're dropping down to the back. Punju, that is going to be crucial though. That could be the end of his championship challenge. It's not going to be a championship challenge, of his playoff challenge, because that is a 5-second penalty, and that could throw him outside of the podium places maybe.
Yeah, it really gonna ruin his opportunities. 5 seconds is not a small margin by any means to try and get back up to the podium. Being told in chat you can reset if beached, and I think that is definitely the case we saw with El Takaman being unable to move that car from the gravel.
Cool. Good. Cleared that one up. So, yeah, no penalty will be applied to the Campos driver, or not the Campos driver, El Takaman, in the high-tech, but yeah, is in quite a sticky situation right now. Fastest lap for Hayden on the softs is going to be ahead maybe of Matty D13. We'll see, they're very close together coming out of the pits. Is the Rodin Carlin car a little bit wide on the fresher soft compound tyres for Matty D13, but stays ahead of the Prema. And you'd imagine he'll try and pull away on fresher tyres, but Hayden, this might be his only opportunity to get ahead of his fellow championship protagonist up the inside into turn number 4 we go. He's probably going to fight this pretty hard because he knows how crucial this overtake is going to be. Matty doesn't fight it too hard on the exit, and up into 4th place goes the Prema.
Yeah, had the drag reduction system assistance, did the Prema car, and that was crucial to get past Matty D. He might want the top spot. It doesn't necessarily matter where you finish, 1st, 2nd, 3rd or 4th. All of those drivers head up into Formula 1 regardless, but I think Hayden Gullis wants this for pride and pride alone.
Gap between Punju and Dale at the moment is over 2 seconds. It certainly wasn't that close. Was that a little bit of contact between Hayden and Matty D13 down into 9 and 10? Did the Rodin Carlin car tap the back of the Prema? We'll have to wait and see. Doesn't look like any damage was picked up from that, thankfully enough for both drivers. But yeah, going back to that, the overcut working incredibly well for Punju there. He's starting to get reeled in a little bit by Dale, and obviously with the 5-second penalty will drop behind the Campos. But that is a very interesting thing to note. Did Dale make a mistake somewhere on his outlap?
Yeah, not quite sure. Maybe the undercut. We know it can be very, very powerful in this game, not just in the F1 cars, but in the F2 as well. But Dale, like you said, starting to reel him in. Curbs into the pit from the lead of this race now. So Punju will inherit the effective race lead, but Dale is very hot on his heels.
Yeah, but look at how close Hayden and Matty are as well now. On the soft compound tyres, albeit very old for Hayden. Another fastest lap for the Prema driver, but he might be about to lose a place. There is Curbs coming out of the pits, will be at the back of this group of 5 cars. Going defensive is the Prema of Hayden, worrying about the road in Carlin, but he locks up. There's contact at the apex as they meet in the middle. Hayden making a little mistake there. Thankfully, it doesn't cost him too much, but he's going to be under pressure once again on the run up the hill into turn number 4. It's probably going to be the outside line for Matty. Will he swing it through, or will he try the cutback on the exit? Braking a little bit early. He's going to try the old switcheroo. Hayden drifting out wide a little bit. Is this a perfectly executed switchback move? They bang tyres on the exit. The hand of frustration is thrown up. Hayden's going to try and hang it again. I think he's just going to get caught up on the curb, though. Great racing between the two of them. Respectful enough as well. Still side by side. They've been like this for the whole first half of the lap, and it's going to continue as we come up to the very treacherous turns 9 and 10 complex. But I think finally the Rodin Carlin car comes out on top in that. I was going to call it a duel. It was more like a war.
It really was. It was never ending by the looks of it. Hayden Gullis, I think, just having to take the back step there, reevaluate a little bit. But Matty D immediately fixes eyes on a good friend of his, Dale J.E. up in P2. The gap now just under that second. He will have DRS on the Campos car, and Punju only 1.1 seconds up the road from Dale himself.
Yeah, Punju's in major trouble here. Dale falls off the road. Will that be a corner cutting warning for the Campos car? He certainly lost a lot of time to Matty and Hayden behind. And you'd think Matty 13 in the Carlin car is now favourite for this race on the soft compound tyres, catching them very quickly. We know that Punju with that 5-second penalty is going to tumble probably down into 5th place, and that might be his playoff hopes over. But yeah, Dale needs all the points he can get at this stage.
He does indeed. It's not necessarily just for standings in the championship. I think it's for confidence as well. We know he's not too confident in the Formula 2 cars. He might be a little bit better in the F1s later on. But Matty D really starting to push now on that Campus car. Hayden Gullis giving the Rodin Carlin absolutely no air to breathe. And this battle from 2nd through 4th really starting to hot up.
You would think that on the hard tyres, Dale might get swallowed up by these two pretty quickly. But when you're fighting someone that you are pretty good mates with, all of that goes out the window. It's like a rival or a derby in football. It doesn't matter what the form guide is. Hayden, hugely late on the brakes into turns 5, 6 and 7. Taps the back of the road in Carlin car. Don't think any damage came of it. Big lockup for Dale in front. That might open Matty D13 up for a potential move into turns 9 and 10. We've seen it in real life, of course, in F1 and F2. The road in Carlin pretty close behind the Campos, but I don't think he's close enough to make an ambitious lunge up the inside.
No, a little bit of contact there again for Hayden and Matty, the old rivals once again at it here in Bahrain. But Matty D just managing to avoid much incident, still looking to make a move on the Campus, but he doesn't look that quick in a straight line. Hayden gaining so much time with the DRS. Matty had the DRS as well, but the Prema car looking very racy in a straight line.
Dale, who runs wide again, falls off the circuit for the second time in as many laps through the high-speed turn 12 corner. Big wobble on the exit for Matty D13, the 13. Hayden having to check up behind in the Prema, and that probably ruined his chance of maybe getting through. Team radio for Hayden as well. Great racing with Matty. We would certainly agree, sir, but are we going to continue that battle down into turn number 1? Dale's probably got to try and use the DRS of Punju, if he can get inside the DRS, of course, to maintain what would become first place.
Indeed, that penalty with Punju really hanging over his head, but Hayden Gullis here looks for a move on Matty D, goes to the inside. Matty pushes him a little bit wide, not as wide as we've seen previously. They're side by side through turn number 1. It's bumping and bashing and racing once again, and then 2 still coming out clean, and Matty D just holds on to P3 here, gets the DRS saving from Dale in front, but they're going to go 3 wide down into turn number 4 here.
Hayden's going to be the big loser. Might lose a place to Curbs, who's come out of nowhere on much fresher soft compound tyres to eclipse the Prema and get up into the top 4.
Yeah, Hayden on 5 lap. Old softs really starting to die on him now as Matty and Curbs on 3 and 2 lap respectively. Curbs looking very quick on new rubber here.
Absolutely, and Curbs could now be the main threat to Dale's potential race victory. Gap between himself and Punju, 1.2 seconds, 1.3. That gap has stabilised. Dale off the road again. He's got 2 corner cutting warnings. That is his 3rd one, and that pretty much leaves it falling into the hands of either Matty D13 or Curbs.
Yeah, Matty D and Curbs really will have to start to battle here. Dale is pretty much out of the race when there's still crucial points on the table. It's only 3 seconds at the end of the day. Not as catastrophic as the 5 second from Punju, but these three really starting to battle it out. A little bit wide there for Curbs. In the Invicta, wide again for Dale. Those tyres maybe starting to really die for the Campos racing car. They run down towards turns 14 and 15 once again. Curbs has the inside line on Matty D. Will he go for a late dive here? Yes, he will. Down into turn 14. Invicta versus Campos. Round the turn he goes, and it's actually Curbs coming out on top, and Will trying to challenge Dale down into turn 1.
There's a huge air of confidence oozing from that Invicta car. Curbs is going to try and get up into second place, which will, of course, become the net race lead. Matty D13 trying to confirm his promotion into the F1 series. Gets a little bit close to the back, trying to get the switchback move. Taps the back of the Invicta car, though, as Curbs and Dale continue to squabble on the exit. And through turns 3 we go. Not a lot of space there on the outside, right up against the white line. Dale's going to try and go defensive. Curbs is going to try and counter that by sending it up the inside. He's now got to be careful he doesn't drop behind the road and Carlin car once again. Hayden trying to get involved as well. It's a 4-way scrap for second, third, fourth and fifth, certainly helping out Punju if they continue to score for the final couple of laps. But I think it's going to be Curbs that stays ahead of Matty just about, who now is compromised and could be under pressure once again from his old rival of Hayden. Down the inside we go with the Prema. Curbs is caught up behind the Campos of Dale, who's going a little bit slowly into turn number 8, but we somehow are still in the same order we were about 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, everyone keeping it fairly clean through turns 8 and 9. Little bit of contact between the pack here. Everyone coming away with their front wings. Fortunately, Dale still leads from Curbs, from Matty, from Hayden.
But I think we're going to see a change once again. Curbs up the inside. Can he finally make this move stick? This should be a little bit easier, but he goes a little bit too late on the brakes. Sliding out wide. Hayden. Dale's going to try and keep his foot in it and slide around the outside. Bit of contact. That could have been a nasty crash for the two of them. Incredibly lucky. They're both still pointing in the right direction. Hayden sends it up the inside of Matty D13. Is this going to be neat and tidy? Yes, it is. They bang tyres a little bit, but they're still side by side on the run up into the final couple of corners.
If there's one thing that's certain in this life, it is Hayden sending it up the inside. Dale backs out really early there into the final corners, caught up with Curbs, and it is Dale that's round. The man that was driving in P2 for so long is round in P5, and that surely guarantees demotion here.
You would imagine Punju, this has benefited him nicely. 3.3 seconds the gap. He may only drop down into 4th place. Hayden and Matty are going to continue their duel that has gone on for the entirety of this Bahrain race as we start the final lap. Curbs looks pretty comfortable out in front. This would be a monumental victory for the Invicta driver, who will probably confirm his place staying in F1.
Yeah, it'll be a really good result from the Invicta driver. He's had a good few performances in the last few races, but nothing to write home about. But P2 here around Bahrain, all through the carnage and the chaos, will be a fantastic result. We can have a look at how much the penalties are. It's a 5 second for both Chesnoid and Punju, just a 3 second for Dale at the moment.
So Punju currently, and most likely, will drop down into 4th place, but it is going to be a handy handful of points for him. And, well, he needs all the points he can get. Currently last in the standings. A little bit silly from Dale. I would probably agree with that. But, yeah, it's kind of ruined his race. Bit wide there from Hayden going through turn number 10. And that might be the end of his challenge to get what will become 2nd place.
Well, this could be really crucial as well. Matty D did not have the DRS there. From Curbs in front of him. So the Road and Carlin car looking a little bit vulnerable on the straights. Hayden Gullis gets that time down to just 0.5 of a second. There's no more DRS opportunities, just the straight line speed and the slipstream down the final corner from 13 on the run down to 14. But I think it will be Punju that wins it on track. However, Curbs will definitely take the race victory on paper here.
Punju's done brilliantly, led the race for the majority of it, but a little lapse in concentration turned out to be quite a big blunder. 5 second penalty is going to kill any race victory chance he had. Crosses the line in first, but it is Curbs that wins the feature race in Bahrain. Matty and Hayden will complete the podium as Punju is relegated down into 4th place. And as we come up to the line, Dale, Ches and then El Takaman, who is a long way away at the back of the pack with those forced feedback issues. That is going to be, 7th place, and that could put pay to his chances of trying to stay in F1. We'll have the updated standings for you in a couple of moments' time. But Curbs, a big victory.
Yeah, fantastic result there from the Invicta driver. That could just be enough to secure his position in Formula 1 next season. We'll wait and see when the results get updated. I'm as eager as you are to know these standings. But that line, he was really close to it, just 1 point above the promotion line. And I think like we said, this could be enough to promote him. Some big names like Chesnoid not doing enough this time around to secure enough points.
I think it's going to be a 4-way scrap for that final spot. You would imagine Matty and Hayden are confirmed with that 2nd and 3rd place. Curbs is probably safe as well. Not sure if he's going to be mathematically safe, but yeah, realistically, you think he's going to be pretty comfortable. I think it's going to be between Ches, Taco, Dale, and Punju, all with an opportunity because Ches and Taco didn't score highly in that race.
It didn't indeed. Issues facing El Taco Man with those force feedback issues. There's one race to go though, so do not go anywhere. We're off to Sin City. We're off to Las Vegas. A new track to the calendar this season. And I'll tell you what, a fantastic place to have a finale.
Absolutely. You couldn't have. I couldn't have put it better myself. It was a brilliant race in Bahrain. That completes our F2 action, of course, with Curbs coming out on top there. If we want to look at who was the best F2 driver, that will go to Matty D13, a 1st and a 2nd place. But that is not how the championship standings are collated. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens in the Vegas finale with still everything up for grabs.
Indeed it is. We're just having a look. Standings will be available very, very shortly. But I believe Matty D has done enough to secure promotion. He's 19 points clear of that teetering line. So Matty D all but confirmed to be driving in the F1 Creator Series next season.
Absolutely. And you would say that Hayden is also confirmed in there as well. 15 points clear of 5th placed Taco Man. And yeah, that is our top 2, all but assured of their promotion spots. And then it is a battle between all the rest to try and grab those final 2 places.
Indeed it is. Well, we're going to come back to all 3 of us. Scott, once again, has had some fantastic insight to what's been happening in Bahrain. And I believe some more insights from the driver's cockpits.
Yeah, sadly, we didn't have too much to go on in this race, but the few that we did were quite dramatic. Very unfortunate for some of the drivers who are putting themselves in a really difficult position. But I've got some clips for you, if I can show you what happened. First off, we're going on to Dale, who was just very unlucky in this lap 10. As you can see, he just doesn't brake enough, goes into the back of Punju. He's absolutely gutted. He kind of knows himself that might just be him relegated to F2. Someone can maybe correct me on that, but he's not got a lot of points. It's going to be, he will need a lot to go his way. What we also had in that race was, for once, usually what I feel like I'm doing is I'm pointing out drivers' mistakes, right? When they have something that was wrong. For a little minute, under a minute, what I want to do is I want to just take us through some actual great racing between Hayden and for Matty D, because they have had some incredible action over there. They've been fighting car to car, giving each other just enough respect, but also just not, wheel bashing here and there through a really difficult sector of Bahrain, where I was watching this going, someone's going off, but no, they kept it. Matty D in that car just gets the inside. They're giving each other just an inch of space through some of the hardest corners in the F1 calendar, but Matty gets away with that, as we saw in the race. I just thought I would like to point that out. Usually it's mistakes that I'm looking at, but sometimes it's great racing. But talking of mistakes, Taco Man, it's been a rough day for him, but he still get a chance. What we can see is that coming into turn 1 in a fight with Matty D again, gets into turn 2, gets too much on that throttle, gets spun out straight off to the track and actually does get beached. We did confirm the rules, obviously he will not receive a penalty. You are allowed to do it to get back on track, but just so unfortunate for him. It's really not been his day so far, and if I see Taco Man not getting through, I'll be quite gutted for him, because there has been a bit of just, your luck's not there.
Yeah, really unfortunate outing there in Bahrain for our Taco Man, facing those wheel issues. It happens to the best of us at times. We've known it happen to a few drivers throughout the season so far. We have got our updated standings, so let's go have a look at how our drivers line up. Going into the final race, it's Matty D with 42 points. Hayden Gullis, 10 points behind him on 32. Curbs and Chesnoid Gaming just holding the line, but at serious risk of relegation, it's El Taco Man, Punju, Mr. Dale and F1 Alex.
Yep, bottom 4 covered by just 3 points. Obviously, we won't be seeing F1 Alex again today, but still very much possible for those guys that are outside of the playoffs to get themselves in. 6 points is the gap between Ches and Taco Man, but still very much in a surmountable margin.
It is indeed. So one more race to come. Las Vegas indeed. And all still to play for. I think pretty much anyone can get themselves back up. Mr. Dale not necessarily confirmed to be demoted there then. But anyway, moving on, we'll go back to all of our screens in the chat. El Takaman, Chesnoid, Curbs in the battle. Indeed they are. Do not go anywhere. We've got one fantastic more race to come. And it's going to be a blinder. I've heard from Mr. Day, I was speaking to him earlier, he said Las Vegas is not his track.
He was actually saying to me that he might actually be putting the line on, which is not something he drives about, but he does struggle with Vegas, TK, so, you know, we'll see how it goes for him. Maybe it'll give him an advantage.
Indeed it might. You never know what might happen if that line does get turned on for the Alpha Tauri driver. Anything can happen around the streets of Las Vegas. It could be chaos, it could be carnage, but actually could really pay off to Mr. Dale's favour.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, so here we go. Final race. We're in the playoffs. Can't believe we've been building up all season to this. Who is going to get through for these final two spots? Honestly, most drivers have shown quite incredible skills so far. I wish we could put them all in, but you know what? It's not going to, you know, there's only a limited amount of spots. Who are we actually going to see? We're going to see some cracking drivers get put out here. And who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting for, TK?
I think there's a lot of drivers in there. I really am disappointed for F1 Alex. Disappointing that he had to step out. Obviously, real life does come first, so we wish him all the best. Just a note on why Tom is a little bit silent. Apparently, Discord having a few issues. That's why we might not be able to hear him. I'm not sure if he can see us, but we have got a nod from him. So we might have him back.
I think I'm back. It decided that it didn't want to work for about 10 seconds. I don't know if people could see my face on the camera. I was terrified. It looked like I'd just seen a ghost, but I think, fingers crossed, we're okay now.
Fingers crossed indeed. Someone in chat suggesting that we make the last race double points. It would make it interesting, but unfortunately, that is not how we're going to run things. Why has Alex stepped out? We're not been told. It was just stated as something has come up for the driver, so we wish him all the best, and look forward to seeing him in F2 next season as well.
I think he's certainly got a very good chance of being in these playoffs again, because especially towards the end of the season, his pace was very, very impressive, challenging right at the sharp end, always in contention for a podium, whether that was in the sprint race or the feature. So yeah, I'm expecting him to come back strong.
I am indeed as well. Challenging for a few podiums, if not a few wins later on with the likes of Dirk Chocolate, who unfortunately couldn't make it here today. He is one of the drivers that did get relegated from Formula 1, so will find himself racing in F2 next season.
It is a big shame. It is a big shame. But you've got to prove your worth sometimes, and sometimes your best isn't quite enough.
Indeed, it will be interesting to see Matty D and Hayden Gullis, as it currently stands, racing in F1 as well. Will we see the return of Rob versus Hayden, but in Formula 1 cars?
I think we will. It's turned into a bit of a grudge match, hasn't it? I really enjoy watching them sometimes. It's sometimes it's clean, sometimes it certainly isn't, but we'll gloss over that part. They've had some fantastic battles over the course of this F2 season. Really looking to see what they can do in cars that should suit them a little bit more.
Indeed it is. Loading up here for the final race of the season. Of course, back in the Formula 1 cars, back in the night time here at Las Vegas as well. Excuse me.
I think we could be seeing some wild moments down that straight. And we also saw in the F1 races, earlier on, people weren't managing their battery very well. And this is a track where battery management is going to be key to your race. If you've got no battery going down that straight, you're going to lose so much time. I think setups are also going to be very interesting. Who's going to go for the lowest downforce setup? Who's going to try and prioritize that big straight? And maybe someone else will go for the higher downforce option and try and help themselves in that horrendous twisty middle sector.
Indeed, there's 3 very long straights here on the Las Vegas street circuit. Only 2 of them, though, being DRS zones. We're being told in the chat that Razanchai has confirmed Matty and Hayden confirmed to be in Formula 1 next season. Well, actually, from reading between the lines in that message, no one confirmed to be going down yet.
I don't think so. Obviously, F1 Alex, as we've mentioned, has got other issues. The gap between Ches and Punju, that is 4th to 7th. That is 8 points. Now, Punju is going to have to finish on the podium here, which is possible because he's going to be starting from pole position, but it's a lot of work to do. Ches needs a performance here. Takaman's only 6 points behind. That's the gap between 4th and 5th. Ches has only picked up 11 points in the last 3 races. He picked up 12 for the win in round number 1.
Indeed, lots still to play for. And Scott, I just want to bring you in really quickly. Have there been any word on team radio in other drivers' cockpits of any hesitation towards this Las Vegas circuit at all? They knew it was coming up last, and it's now come around.
You know, I've not heard too much specifically about Vegas, but do you know what I have been hearing? I've been hearing it from multiple drivers, is they're really struggling with the aspect of they need to go to F1 to F2 and basically just need to relearn all their braking points again. It's really messing with their muscle memory, which is why we've seen some incidents happen. It's all going to come down to this. Yeah, I feel like whoever chose the tracks just wanted to give us a little bit of final chaotic excitement. I'm looking at turn 1, I'm looking at turn 3, right? I'm looking at that long straight to see who's going to have the lower wings. I got a funny feeling this is going to be spicy.
I think you're absolutely correct. It all comes down to the final race, and where better to have it at the new track in Formula 1, at least the new track this time around. But our drivers almost getting ready to go racing. Like you said, turns 1, 3, pretty much into 5 as well. Some really crucial overtaking points here.
Definitely. And the track wasn't the most popular when it was announced. We saw in the real life race, so it was very exciting. Well done to the upside down pig circuit. It did a pretty good job. What is going to be interesting though is obviously we haven't had Vegas as a race this season. This is the only circuit we haven't been to in season number 5. So there's no form guide. There's no F2 form guide. Of course, obviously we're in F1 cars, but the F2 drivers haven't been here either. So yeah, everything up in the air. This is the first race where we truly don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. This can really provide a level playing field for a lot of our drivers. Bring the balance between that the F1 cars and the F2 cars in terms of skill gap. Potentially F1 Alex and Dirk Chocolate obviously relegated, both of them unfortunately not being here. So yeah, it is just 3 drivers on the lookout to avoid relegation. But yeah, like you said, this could really bring everyone together. It's a bit of an unknown quantity tonight.
Absolutely. It's a track that, like I said earlier, lends itself well for overtaking with all the main straights, but also lends itself very well to a bit of carnage with the twisty middle sector. Some of those corners are not very nice to negotiate at all. Turn 12 has become even more difficult because you can't take that curb on the inside anymore, I don't believe. And then that 14, 15, 16 complex at the end of the lap, again, very tight and narrow. If people are going to try and force side by side through there, we could be seeing a few scrapes of the barriers.
We could indeed. Few scrapes of the barriers, few scrapes of the front wings as well, leaving paint along every single inch of this Las Vegas street circuit. But once again, it will be Punju to lead us away here. Dale just a second, Taco in third, Chesnoid splitting the pack dead in the middle, and then Curbs, Hayden Gullis and Matty D, TTV. To round out how this grid lines up, just a reminder, this is of course how our live standings look, with Hayden and Matty both promoted into Formula 1. Curbs, Chesnoid and El Takaman still in the fight, as are, I think, Dale and Punju, of course.
Absolutely, and they are starting from first and second. This is the benefit of a reverse championship order grid. Gives these guys that need to work very hard to get into the playoffs, gives them the opportunity to do so. It's going to be really interesting to see how quickly Hayden and Matty, because they have been generally the quickest drivers over the course of this evening's action, how quickly they can force their way through. But yeah, I'm expecting carnage. Hopefully we do.
Of the game, especially what they want to avoid here in the Las Vegas street circuit. Someone in the chat saying, wait, this isn't WRC. No, definitely not WRC. You are here for the F1 Creator Series potential playoffs. That didn't make any sense. F1 playoff chances here in the Creator Series as we head round number 5 of 5. The final chance to get up to Formula 1, or at least retain your seat if you were there previously.
Act number 5 of this evening's proceedings. It's been incredibly exciting and a lot of fun to commentate on as well. And hopefully this is something similar, because Vegas is it's almost become the new jewel in the calendar, hasn't it? As Monaco's sort of lost its status, especially with the FIA. Can we get a quick look though of the tyre compounds, because I think we might have a few split decisions in there.
We do indeed. It's 4 of the 7 drivers, the front 4, choosing to go onto the soft tyre, the red walled Pirelli choice. And further back, it's Curbs, Hayden Gullis and Matty D13 choosing the yellow walled medium tyre. It's a real mix of choices and actually split pretty much down the middle.
This is going to be wild. Get in your seats, folks. Get some popcorn out. Can't even say it. Popcorn out, because this should be a good way to end this evening's action. A finale thriller around the streets of Las Vegas, and this should be an absolute banger of a race.
Indeed, and don't forget, you can join the conversation too with hashtag F1 Creator Series as Matty D does some celebratory donuts on the formation lap. A little bit premature, but he does know he's confirmed to go into Formula 1. Hayden Gullis just leading us finally onto the grid. Everyone is in their grid slots. Punju, the only driver unable to park that McLaren correctly. But here we go then. Lights are coming on. We have 3, 4, 5 red lights. And for the final round of these playoffs, we're racing here in Las Vegas. Punju gets a fantastic pull away, but it's Dale immediately on the charge down the inside. Gets his braking zone correctly. Further back, Jesnoid looks for an early lunge down on El Takaman. El Takaman potentially still having issues, but Dale and Punju lead us away fantastically off the light restart. El Takaman holding on to P3. Further back, Matty D and Hayden Gullis having a bit of a scrap for the final points playing positions, and Matty D looks to have made up that position. Punju has lost out to Dale though as they head through the first pig trotter through turns 6, 7, 8 and 9 here, and round they go.
Dale took a big risk in trying to hold it around the outside of turns 3 and 4, but he needs to, and it paid off perfectly. Leader of the race goes to the AlphaTauri. Got to be careful though of the cars behind. Got a yellow flag. Not sure who it is for. Maybe someone's hit the barrier somewhere. Can we see everyone? No, it's Hayden. Well, he's already promoted, so it doesn't matter, but that is a disastrous start for the Ferrari. Front wing gone, safety car called, and we are neutralised halfway around lap number 1.
We are indeed. There was going to be chaos around here in Las Vegas. We didn't expect it to come this early. Lap 1 of 13. So Bert Mylander will lead us around this circuit for probably 2 more laps. And beautiful, beautiful start from most of our drivers. Dale getting up into the top positions. Maybe he has turned that line on after all.
Potentially, he's got to probably win this race if he's going to go up, and he's made the perfect start to it. Hayden coming a cropper in that middle sector. Not sure what happened. I'm sure that we'll get a replay from our man on the ground, F1 Scott, in a few moments' time. But yeah, a surprising accident from him, and yeah, didn't expect it to happen.
Yeah, just while all of this action is going on, we're going to go for a side-by-side replay, just live action on the left-hand side of your screens, replay on the right-hand side here. I think just having a few technical issues here with the replay. Do just bear with us. We'll watch and see as Hayden does come into the pits. There we go. Onto the pit lane nice and calmly. Hopefully we'll get this replay working just for you. If not, do not worry. No trouble. We will go back to our live race view. I'm sure we'll come back to it later. Have a look and see what did happen with Hayden Gullis there.
What tyres have you gone on to? Gone on to soft tyres, so, well, I'd imagine he's not going to be going all the way to the end. Couple of drivers coming in as well. El Takaman's put on the hard tyres. That is an interesting call.
Yeah, interesting call there. Maybe wanting to see this race out. I'm sure the mediums would have lasted, but pretty much all the grid coming in. Dale's come in, Punju came in, Taco, as we said, has come in, and Matty D came in as well as Hayden Gullis, obviously, for that wing change. But the only drivers choosing to stay out, Chesnoid and Curbs.
I wonder if that's smart or not. Curbs is looking pretty safe in that playoff position. Ches is he's taken a bit of a risk. He's given himself track position, of course, but he's on slightly older tyres, and some of the guys around him could potentially go to the end. Indeed.
We're going to go back to the Creator Series man on the ground. Hopefully we've got it working this time. We've been told we have. Scott, take us away.
I hope so. Yes, here we go. Goes into a turn. It's obviously just a little bit of a mistake from him. Puts his foot down so much and takes his wing straight off. It's very fortunate for him. He's obviously promoted. Will we look back in sort of 12 laps and see if that changed an outcome? I'm not sure. We'll come back to it.
Indeed, we will. An interesting call there from Hayden Gullis, finding himself in the wall quite prematurely within this race. Obviously, he's already qualified, as has Matty D. This doesn't really impact them, but it really can impact the guys further down in the table.
Absolutely. Points very much on offer for these guys behind Matty and Hayden. I wonder if they'll be fighting quite as hard as they would have been. I doubt it, although Hayden has shown himself to be quite feisty sometimes when he is in wheel-to-wheel combat. We've got to wait for them all to catch the back of the snake, and the safety car, as it flashes its lights around the final corner, should come in at the end of this lap number 3. He's coming in again, so I wonder if this is maybe to put on a set of tyres that will definitely take him to the end of the race. Matty's in as well.
Yeah, interesting call. Both onto medium tyres then, like we said, to see him till the end of this race. 10 laps of racing remaining, and I think the mediums will definitely do that. So maybe just a second afterthought in both of their minds there.
Absolutely. And obviously, with the two out in front, if we were to get the live championship standings, it would be Ches and Curbs retaining their seats in F1. Obviously, still a long way to go, of course, and anything can happen around a track like this. But if it was to end like it is, as you would probably imagine, Ches and Curbs, currently holding 3rd and 4th in the standings, will continue to hold 3rd and 4th in the standings.
It will indeed. Mr. Dale has got a lot of work on his plate. Ches in a bit of an awkward position here on those soft tyres, and one of two drivers that is, well, only one of two drivers that is required to pit till the end of this race. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Hayden and Matty further back, as we see them swapping positions under the safety car. These two obviously having a whirl of a time, knowing they have not got any work to do and have already qualified for F1.
It's a lot nicer when all the pressure's gone from your shoulders. You can just race, you can just relax and enjoy it, because I imagine for all of these guys, especially the drivers trying to maintain their place in F1, this will be a stressful few hours for them.
It will indeed, and I wouldn't have wanted to be them on the lead up to this event either, having to practice not only in Formula 1 cars, but practice in the F2 cars as well, round tracks that you didn't even know until roughly about last night. So they haven't had much practice here, maybe 24 hours at maximum, and that is definitely going to put a strain on their driving abilities.
Hopefully, in the top of screen, we'll get that beautiful message, yes we do, from race control. Safety car in this lap, and we're going to get going for what will probably be the last time in this race, although I probably won't count my chickens there because it is Vegas, of course, and it's going to be Ches leading Curbs away. The two guys currently holding those playoff places, those promotion places. Can they maintain their positions inside the top 4?
Yeah, you'd really hope so. The Williams and the Aston Martin having a fantastic race number 1. Chesnoid obviously taking that win around China, but Curbs has a lot on his plate to do, as does Dale behind him on the fresher tyres. But here we go for the restart. Hayden and Matty come together further back. We're not going to watch that at the moment. The front three lead us away down into turn 1. Curbs look for an optimistic move down into turn 1. He's on the medium tyre. Chesnoid will be on dying softs. And as we run through the corners, it's contact with the wall for the Williams driver. A little bit of anticipation poorly from the Williams. It's AlphaTauri of Dale now making a charge. Look at the straight line speed.
Double overtake potentially incoming. He's going to try and send it up the inside. Is he? No. Thinks about the long game. Stays behind the Aston Martin of Ches. Curbs. Bit of a mistake there. Lazy error. Maybe just not up to speed yet after the safety car. Dropping back down into 3rd place with Punju and El Takaman sat right underneath the rear wing of that Williams. Hayden and Matty continuing to scrap at the back of the field.
Yeah, Hayden and Matty having a little bit of a world of their own further back. Yellow flags being thrown. Hayden's up. There's someone round. It's Takaman and Punju. Those two have come together. Unfortunate. The two that needed to do this to survive in Formula 1 find themselves towards the back of the grid. Hayden and Matty getting themselves up into 5th and 4th respectively. And the battle at the front, though, a little bit of a wobble for Curbs. This allows the front two to start to pull away.
How are your underpants, Curbs? That was a huge moment coming out of 12. Keeps it out of the wall amazingly. Out in front, though, Dale. This is what he needed to do. Get up into the lead, get back up into the lead. He does take it. Ches tucks into the slipstream behind and will remain in 2nd place.
Yeah, Ches just backing off the throttle there, not wanting to pass Dale into an awkward position. He knows they can work together here to benefit both of them. He's on the dying tyre. He has to pit again, as does Curbs behind him. But Dale, in theory now, can run till the end of the race, I believe.
You would imagine so. We are on to lap number 5. Fastest lap of the race for Dale as well. That's an extra point added to the kitty. Is this going to be a recovery from the absolute depths from Dale? This would be quite the recovery job and quite the, revenge arc, you would imagine, if he does manage to hold on to his seat. Still got a lot of work to do, of course, with Ches sat in 2nd behind, and will probably try and just stick underneath that rear wing and hold on to the DRS and get dragged away from the group behind them.
Yeah, these front three again have to work together. Curbs looking to drop pace here. Not quite sure what's going on for for the Williams driver. He's just trying to tuck in, but maybe those tyres not warming up, not firing up as much as he would have wanted after that safety car restart. He's teetering over that 1 second line. El Tacoman did get a warning further back for that collision with Punju earlier on a couple laps ago.
Yeah, and that collision, just going back to it, that will allow the likes of Ches and Curbs just to breathe a little bit easier. Two of their main rivals have been taken out of the equation. They've dropped to second last and last. So Ches in a better position than he was maybe 2 laps ago. Does manage to hold on to the DRS of Dale in front. So we'll get a nice and handy drag down this straight and probably the next straight as well.
Yeah, Dale just pulling along. Chesnoid Gaming there. Curbs just not close enough to benefit from the DRS this time around. But Dale, an audacious restart from the AlphaTauri driver. He's into the pits already. I believe he put on a fresh set of medium tyres, and he will be able to go to the end of this race in that AlphaTauri, finally finding some pace.
ERS light flashing though. We know what his tactics are. They've just been revealed as he's burnt all of his battery to confirm fastest lap, but also confirm Ches. Well, confirmed fastest lap is taken away from him immediately by Matty D13. But yeah, Dale will be trying to break the DRS to Ches. That is what he has done. Ches under pressure once again now.
Yeah, Ches looking to defend from the Williams behind him. No DRS from Dale in front. The Williams and Curbs, of course, will have it on the run down here. Gets to close a little bit early, does the Williams, not wanting to overtake into that very tight and treacherous right-hander. Very smart move from Curbs, just playing it cool, calm and collected as they head through one of these chicanes. It's a very tight and technical part of the track, and then opens up once again to pure straight line speed for our drivers.
Yeah, I expect Curbs to be pretty smart here. Matty D13 leaving the session, currently in 4th place, has just cruised up to the back of this pair, so that'll be interesting to see how fast his AI is. But yeah, Curbs knows that he just has to finish respectably, and he will be holding on to that F1 seat.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of a mistake for Chesnoid. I'm not quite sure. It looked like he went deep into that left-hander, and maybe the tyres. He's on 5-lap-old medium, 5-lap-old softs, and maybe the tyres just not doing as well as we would have thought.
He'll probably be in at the end of this lap, losing a lot of time to Dale. Going to lose a position for his troubles as well. Through goes the Williams of Curbs. Relegates Ches down into 3rd place. Curbs, that is probably if he can stay there. Going to confirm his place very late on the brakes. Got to keep it out of the wall. Wow, that was a very hairy moment for Ches. That could have been fight absolutely won and done, or run there for the Aston Martin. Will he be into the pits at the end of this lap? We'll have to wait and see if the icon pops up. No, chooses to stay out. Interesting.
Yeah, Matty D fortunately back in the session, but almost immediately losing a position to Hayden Gullis. Hayden up into P5, Matty D with that 5 second to note. And again, not quite getting control of the car here. That Rebel all over the shop at the moment.
Yeah, looking to be strong. I'm not sure if he's actually taken back control of the car, or whether it is still the AI, because that was a very interesting racing line through turns 2 and 3 there. Ches dropping a lot of time, though. Those soft tyres, I think, are well past their best. I feel like he should have come in on the previous lap. Maybe he's trying to hold out for a safety car. But at this stage, it doesn't look like he's coming.
Yeah, no, he's really not doing well, not being able to throw the car through the corners as quick as he would have liked. He's dropped 2.5 seconds, 2 curbs in front of him, and will be under pressure very, very shortly from the Ferrari of Hayden Gullis behind him. Hayden absolutely having a flyer after that initial contact with Matty D, putting on the fresh set of boots and a fresh wing to join, and it is a charge down for the Ferrari versus the Aston Martin on lap 7 of 13 here.
Now we've got to start thinking about the provisional standings. Dale, if he wins, doesn't have fastest lap, gets 12 points. He's currently on 15. That would take him to 27, which would mean that Curbs is confirmed. He's obviously picking up a handful of points as well. Ches currently has to stop again. This is suddenly looking like it might be on for Dale.
It really, really could be. All the paths have opened for the AlphaTauri today. It all seemed to be going his way. We can look at who's pitted. It is everyone but Curbs and Chesnoid. Hayden and Matty D pitting twice. And Curbs into the pits then. This was not unexpected. And Chesnoid in as well.
Got to be careful you don't speed. Both of them managed to slow the car down, so that isn't an extra 5 seconds looming over their head. Dale is just going to try and cruise away out in front. Be interesting to see if Hayden and Matty close up to the back of him, maybe put him under pressure. These two came to blows earlier on in the race. ERS light flashing at the back of that Papaya McLaren car as Tacoman and Punju negotiate 4th and 5th on the run up towards turn number 5. Can be a bit of a pinch point on the inside, so they've got to be careful who's going to be later on the brakes. It's Punju, but Tacoman into the side of the McLaren gives him another helping hand into the barrier and a spin, and that is going to be Punju's race run. No front wing for the McLaren. Are we going to get a safety car? That would be terrible terrible timing if you're Curbs and Ches, although it does bring them back up to the pack. We haven't got the notification yet, and we're still waiting for
There
it.
we
Safety
go.
car, that brings Curbs and Ches right back into this.
Yeah, what do you do if you're Dale now? You've surely got to box for a fresh set of the soft tyres. Curbs went in for softs. Chesnoid, though, interestingly went for the mediums. That could really hamper him because he'll probably have to pit again. Otherwise, he'll be a bit of a sitting duck on mediums if everybody else chooses to go to softs.
I'd expect everybody comes in here. So Ches, he's got to put on those soft tyres. He's got a lot of work to do. This hasn't worked out. If they'd have stayed out another lap, I know hindsight is a beautiful thing, but this would have played right into their hands. Ches, he hasn't been helped out by this safety car, but he's been given an opportunity.
Yeah, not helped but hampered, and this really opens the door for Mr. Dale at the moment. He has a good gap back to Hayden Gullis. He'll still be in command of this race if everybody else chooses to pit. Dale into the pits, and we watch in anticipation as everybody else starts to file to the left-hand side of the track. At Matty D and Hayden both in. Taco Man pulls across as well. What is everybody else doing? Punju expectedly into the pits, but Curbs could be able to stay out here if he's quick enough and inherit the lead of the race.
Going to have to see how many places he does make up. Punju is retired. That's in the pit. So Punju deciding that he's not going to be getting that promotion spot and will remain in F2. Unfortunately, that means we are down to what is probably a 2-horse race. Curbs emerges in second, ahead of Hayden, El Takman, Matty 13, and Chesnoid. With now being down to 6, that's going to help Ches as well.
Well, I think it's going to hamper Ches at the current moment in time. He's just got to kind of score points to prevent Dale from just jumping him on the line. Taco Man and Dale, of course, both just teetering across that line in 5th and 6th respectively. But as a lot of points do separate them, a win is essential for the AlphaTauri driver here.
Well, I think if my maths is correct, Dale obviously still picking up those 12 points will go from 15 to 27, and Ches, currently 6th, that is helpful, of course, gets 3 points, but that puts him on 26 points. So there's 1 point in it at the moment between these two drivers. These are the ones that will be battling out. Curbs, barring any major whoopsies in this final sprint to the finish, will also hold on to the F1 seat. It's between Ches and Dale. Ches has got to make up a couple of places.
He does indeed. Whilst we have this safety car action, though, I believe we have replays ready between the incident between Taco and Punju. So we'll hop over to our beautiful man on the ground as he runs us through what happened over there.
Hello, yes, I'm back. It's actually been a couple of instances between Taco and Punju getting very close. This is Taco in lap 4, goes right into the back of Punju, gets a little bit of damage there by the looks of it as well, spins Punju around, very unfortunate. It's one of these days, it's not going well for either driver. I can show you what Punju's point of view was to that as well. There's nothing he could do. He'll be absolutely gutted with that happening at lap 4. As you can see already, absolutely raging. And then what is happening here? So this is just super unfortunate. This is what caused the safety car on lap 8, as we will... No, please tell me it's not happening that again. Let me give 1 second, I will fix that for us. There we go. We should have that ready. This is what Punju's point of view was. Lap 8, final race of the playoffs, going into turn 3. Taco on the inside loses his wing, and as you can see the frustration all over Punju's face. It's just not been his day.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Punju there. Also, an early retirement as well, meaning he definitely will be demoted to the Formula 2 cars next time around. Interesting to note that Chesnoid has headed into the pits for a completely fresh set of soft tyres. He will find himself just behind the grid, but catching up rather quickly. But maybe those couple of laps tyres, will they come to his advantage here?
He knows he needs all the help he can get. He's in 6th place. He needs to get up to 4th, I would say. It's going to... No, because he'll lose on countback because Dale got 2nd in China. So Ches, he's going to have to outscore Dale. They can't finish level on points. So he's going to have to get up into 4th. If Dale loses places, though, that's going to be crucial for Ches. It's going to be Dale versus Ches. That is the battle we've got to focus on. And it is very tight at the moment. Currently 1 point separating them.
It is indeed. If the safety car does come in this lap, it will be 3 laps of racing remaining around this Las Vegas street circuit. If it decides to do another lap, which I doubt it will, now everyone has caught back up. It would be 2, but I think we're going to have 3 laps of racing round Las Vegas at the moment. And I'll tell you what, we will have 1 lap of DRS, which can be very, very critical.
How are your nerves, Dale? How are your nerves, Chesnoid? Both fighting to hold on to their seats, and one of them is going to end up getting demoted down into F2 next season. Can't predict who it's going to be. Dale's got to make sure he wins the race. Ches, if that happens, has got to make sure he makes up a couple of places. The safety car is in. 3-lap sprint to the end to decide the final spot inside the top 4 for the playoffs.
Yeah, well, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go anywhere. Tighten those seat back corners, because you will be here for the next 9-ish miles of action. Just over 10 miles to go for Dale. Can he hold on to the lead of this race? Can Curbs do anything to disrupt a victory party? Or will Hayden or Matty get involved? El Taco Man in P4 can still disrupt the party. Mr. Dale has got to be so careful where he goes. Final corner now. He launches just before that corner. Curbs gets a bit caught out. Further back, El Taco Man looks to make an early move on Hayden Gullis. Down the inside he goes. Hayden quite easily giving him the position there. He knows he's got nothing to fight for. And the Haas up into P3. Dale 7/10 clear already of the Williams, but this is the battle that we've got to be careful of. Curbs almost losing out to El Taco Man. Chesnoid not making anything up off this race start.
Perfect start for Dale, charging away out in front. Curbs on 1 lap older tyres. That is going to make a difference. Was that El Tacoman tapping the barrier at the exit of turn number 5? We'll have to wait and see. On board with Mr. Chesnoid Gaming. Ches, what can he do? He's got to get ahead of 2 drivers that are very, very quick. First and second in the provisional standings. He's got to get ahead of them if he's going to keep his seat.
He's got to be very, very cautious indeed. Matty D and Hayden literally have nothing to race for here. They are moving roadblocks. They are not competing for anything. It's just a battle between themselves at this point, and that could really bring carnage into the championship standings. Further up the field, though, El Taco Man has started to gain on Curbs. Matty D and Hayden having a bit of a scrap. That allows Chesnoid up 1 position, but El Taco Man gets around Curbs here for P2. Mr. Dale has broken that DRS string at the moment. 1.2 seconds as Chesnoid is up another position. Here comes the Aston Martin man.
Well, he's up into 4th. That's the position he needed. Let's just have a little think about El Tacoman, though. He was on 17 points. We'll pick up 10 for coming home in 2nd. That puts him on 27 points. It could be a 3-way scrap again.
It really, really could. We'll leave all the decisions to the Brainiacs at the end. Mr. Dale gets the fastest lap of the race. That could be a very crucial point indeed for the AlphaTauri. 2 laps of racing remain here at Las Vegas. Matty D and Hayden Gullis still having a good scrap. Chesnoid not too far off them. He's got to be careful not to get caught up in the carnage between Red Bull and Ferrari, but I think he's just doing enough to steer clear at the current moment in time.
Ches is currently in a position to hold on to his spot in the F1 series. As off goes Hayden. That was dramatic. Just didn't stop at all, did the Ferrari. Brakes certainly not working there. And that is going to be news to Chesnoid's ears. That's 1 less driver he has to deal with.
It is indeed, and he can see the Williams, the guys he needs to start challenging just up in front of him. 1.9 is the gap between Chesnoid and Curbs at the moment. Mr. Dale extending that lead at the front of the grid. This will be interesting if anyone can steal fastest lap of the race from him, but Curbs is slowly dropping off the Haas in front of him. The gap almost at a second now. He will just be able to hold the DRS when it comes around next lap, of course. 2 laps after the safety car is when that DRS system is not available, and he's just gone too far over that line.
It's looking set in stone out in front, isn't it? Dale from El Tacoman from Curbs. You would expect that to be our podium. It's the battle for 4th and 5th. That is the battle for the podium, not the podium, for the promotion spot. Ches got to hold on. Currently 29 points to the Aston Martin driver's name. 27 points for his rivals in 1st and 2nd. If he loses this place to Matty behind, he will lose his seat on countback, courtesy of a 2nd place for Dale at China.
Indeed, there we go. DRS has been enabled for the final lap of racing here in Las Vegas. 3.853 miles to go, 6.2 kilometers for these F1 drivers to secure their seats for next season. Being told Ches needs P4, Dale needs P1, and Taco needs P1 without fastest lap to all try and confirm their seats. Dale has pulled out all the stops in this race, but I fear it could be too little too late.
Yeah, it would have been quite the comeback. Picked up 5 points across the 3 middle races, but a 2nd place in China and a potential win here in Vegas is what has set him up. Fastest lap at the minute is Matty D13, I believe. No, it's Dale. That puts him just 1 point behind now.
It does indeed. Crucial points here for the AlphaTauri driver. We saw him get it on the safety car restart. That's when the soft tyres really started to fire up for him. That gap still extending. Yellow flags further back. Not quite sure what's happened. That's Matty D, I think, going slow. Maybe a collision between himself and Chesnoid. Still yellow flags are being thrown, but that's not going to worry any of our drivers. The front is what we've got to contend with. Mr. Dale still on a charge for the lead of this race. El Tacoman holding from curbs for second and third.
Completely out of Dale's hands at the moment. He needs something to happen behind him, but Ches has got a comfortable 17-second window. He can cruise it over the line as Curbs gets up into second place. Curbs in the Williams will be maintaining his seat in the F1 series and is now just down to the final few corners. Ches, just negotiate it, mate, and you'll be holding on to that seat. Dale has driven a brilliant race out in front. He's been quicker than a lot of drivers around. He's going to cross the line to take a win, is he, as he comes around the final corner. No penalties. The AlphaTauri driver of Dale wins. He spins it over the line, but it's not going to be enough despite the fastest lap. Ches is home in fourth place, and that'll be him holding on to that seat in F1.
Boy, oh boy, what a fantastic finish that was. It came down to the final few laps of racing. Matty D, not quite sure what's happened, maybe just wanting a little bit of carnage with Hayden until the end, but there is Chesnoid, I believe, securing his spot in Formula 1. Dale was just too little too late. It didn't quite work out for him. I believe we're being told it's Dale on 28 points, Ches on 29, Taco on 27 points by the finest of margins here in the Creator Series. It is Chesnoid Gaming securing the Formula 1 seat.
What a way to finish. He was under pressure in that final stint, but courtesy of Hayden and Matty struggling really and doing donuts around the final corner, they had nothing to fight for, and that was what allowed Ches to take that fourth place and take himself into F1 once again. Punji retiring. Unfortunate for Punji, will finish in 7th. A lot of it not down to his own doings. We'll go through the championship standings once we've finished the donut show between Hayden and Matty. Both, of course, were confirmed of their promotion before this race. Hugely unfortunate for Dale. Brilliant performance here in Vegas. Just left himself with too much to do. And also, I've just seen this. He retired in Baku. Even if he came 8th there, he would have picked up 1 point and he would have beaten Ches on countback. So that Baku retirement, we think of it as meaningless now. That is what cost him.
It really was. It's crucial looking back at the previous results. Dale, he had a fantastic race. He did everything right here in Las Vegas, but he couldn't quite get the cherry on the top. Like you said, that Baku result really costing him. He got an additional point in Austria, just the singular, for finishing 8th. All he had to do was get that car across the finish line.
Hindsight is a brilliant thing, like you said, but that's going to hurt. That's going to sting. Brilliant performance in Vegas, but one mistake into the castle section, clipping that inside wall, and that's the difference between staying up and going down into F2.
It is indeed. It'll be interesting to see of Dale's reaction to heading down to Formula 2 next season. I don't know if he even knows whether he's been able to do the calculation yet, but for now, we will enjoy the podium, allow him to celebrate that top spot as he does. Doesn't even get the win. He gets dropped down for some reason. I think because he left the session. That's he did get the win. He did get the fastest lap. Obviously, game telling us slightly differently on there.
Yeah, I think it's because he crashed. It's because he crashed over the line. So Ches obviously did finish in 4th. So interesting end to the race there. Probably not the standings that we were expecting, but yes, 5 races, some very engaging action. We now know who is staying up. We know who is going down. It was incredibly interesting to watch. So tight at the end as well. 1 point separating. Well, 2 points separating 4th, 5th, and 6th. Crazy scenes.
Indeed. I just want to pull Scott in for one final time. Scott, was there anything on your end that you found just towards the end of that race there?
It was just honestly quite heartbreaking just sort of listening to some of these guys, especially Dale. So close, sort of, he's gutted, but you know what, as he said in the stream as well, he gave it his all, and he definitely did. He couldn't have done any better. Congratulations obviously to everyone that got through. Someone else though I think has to be mentioned. Sometimes when you're a racing driver, you have days where you can do nothing wrong, and sometimes everything unluckily and bad just comes your way. Today that was Punju. He was very unfortunate on multiple occasions. Definitely did not go his way, and I just think he deserves an extra little shout out because he's been absolutely incredible all season, but sometimes on that final day it just doesn't come together with you. So yeah, that's final words from me. Congratulations to the people that have obviously got through, but see some of these people that got so close, my heart breaks a little for them, but they will be back next season hopefully to do the job.
That they will, and I've been told the standings have been updated. We can get our final results here for the playoffs, so let's go and have a look then. It's Matty D who takes top spot. Curbs actually stealing P2 there from Hayden Gullis right at the death. Hayden joining Matty D there with the promotion to Formula 1, and Chesnoid Gaming just doing enough to snag that F1 seat for season number 6. Dale misses out by just 1 point. El Taco Man out by just 4 points, and then Punju, after an unfortunate few races on F1 Alex, we wish him all the best, make sure he's okay. Those guys will be shown in Formula 2 next season.
This was exactly what the playoffs were designed to be. Action, tension, unpredictability right the way through. We didn't know who was going up until the very last lap. I thought that was a brilliant spectacle.
It was indeed a fantastic race to watch and commentate. Thank you so much for joining me alongside. We'll see if we can get anyone in for a little chat right at the end here. Not quite sure if anyone's going to have the energy to be able to do an interview after a race like that, but we will certainly have a look and see. But yeah, definitely unfortunate for Mr. Dale, who will find himself in the F2 seats next season.
Judging off his pace in Bahrain, though, he should be right up there for the playoff spots next season. He had a difficult time in Austria, of course. We saw that, made a mistake on the opening lap, but the pace was very strong. If he didn't get that penalty, he would have been in a better place. If, buts and maybes a lot of the time. But yeah, I expect Dale to come back very, very strong.
Indeed. Eli, well, Punju's, only Vic in chat saying Punju deserved better, and it was a really unfortunate turn of events for the man in the McLaren for 3 of those 5 races. A fantastic set of results. We're going to get our first interview. We're going to get Dale in just to hear how he's doing. I think we need to offer him some condolences. Dale, a fantastic race in Vegas there. It just couldn't come together over the 5 races. How are you feeling?
I gave it everything in that final race. My worst track. I gave it everything I had. To lose it by 1 point is heartbreaking. All I needed was just that 1 point at Baku, and yeah, it could have been a different story. But yeah, guys, glad I was able to race in the playoffs against some incredible drivers, and yeah, it just wasn't for me today. But we're gonna regroup, come back in F2, absolutely dominate the competition, and come back in season 7 stronger than ever.
That's the fantastic spirit, and we look forward and wish you all the best in the F2 season next time around.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Great comms as always. Thank you for taking on the playoffs, and have a good week.
Thank you so much. Well, we'll get our next interview, shall we? Should we bring in Matty D, the driver that commanded 2 races, almost won 3 in a row as well. And Matty, welcome in. Congratulations on securing the F1 seat, commanding drives out there today. At what point did you think you had it in the bag?
I kind of didn't, to be fair. Like, with how my pace was at the start with China, I was kind of dreading myself because my setup throughout the whole of China was so slippery. So I was having to stick with the higher gears pretty much throughout the whole way.
Yeah, it was a little bit tricky start there for you, but then coming through in Austria, in Baku, commanding those races, a fantastic drive out for yourself.
Thank you very much. And to be fair, it was a lot of fun. It very much was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the battles that happened, and very unfortunate for Dale. Like, 1 point separated him and Ches, which is insane.
Yeah, and Tom, any comment to our playoff winner there?
I mean, the performance was very strong. Like you said, China was maybe a slightly concerning start, but Austria and Baku, really comfortable. Bahrain as well, did the job nicely. Got yourself on the beach to Vegas. We saw some very interesting battles with Hayden in Vegas. Do you just want to talk us through that?
So, well, it was like the last lap, I believe, Hayden absolutely outbroke himself. He didn't know there wasn't marker boards on the right hand side of the track, and he accidentally nearly murdered Ches. But to be fair, with my disconnect, me and Hayden were actually having a very, very decent battle, which was a lot of fun. And Vegas isn't exactly the easiest tracks to have side-by-side battles on.
Yeah, very true. But massive congratulations to yourself. Any idea of what seat you'd ideally like to be racing in season 6?
I'm kind of out for Dirk's seat. I'm not gonna lie. The Red Bull is my go-to car in anything, to be fair.
Well, we wish you the best of luck in the Formula One next time around, and yeah, best of luck to yourself.
Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to watching the commentary back.
Amazing, thank you. And finally, we'll get Hayden in as well. The causer of chaos, the man himself, Hayden Gullis. A fantastic drive by yourself today, securing the promotion up into F1 to round off your TikTok series as well.
Let's go. Back in F1 again.
Clearly very happy with that. But how do you think the 5 races went for yourself?
It was an absolute mess. I did that first lap in China, and I've been playing another game all week, and haven't actually touched F1 since Saudi F2 race. So I did that first race in F1, and I was like, chat, we might have a problem. I am in the mud here. I was so far off the pace in that one-shot quali. So yeah, struggled in China, and then just slowly built upon it. Made a few bits of contact here and there, but we were maybe gloss over that. Just ignore that, everyone. But yeah, no, it was good fun. It was a good fun event. Happy to be back in F1, and happy to be taking Dirk Chocolate seat in Red Bull next season. Oh yeah.
Well, Tom, any word for Hayden there this afternoon?
I mean, it's a popular seat that everyone's been looking for. We saw, or we heard Matty said he wanted Dirk's seat as well. Just going back to the very start, obviously China was not good, but then Austria as well. The pace wasn't amazing, but you managed to get through into second place. Do you think it was just that experience of being in those scenarios that guided you through to the playoffs?
I think so. I think I back myself at being a bit more consistent. Rain can help in the F1 cars, I feel like, for me, but in the F2 cars, I think I had that experience of driving in F2, so that did help me for sure, but I hadn't done Austria last time, nor did I do the wet, which was the only race that was wet, was Austria in the F2 series, and I missed that 1 week. So for me, it was a whole new experience. I hit the brakes into turn 1, completely skidded off down to turn 2, and like took Taco with me because I just didn't know where to brake. I thought I broke early enough, and I just didn't brake early enough. But yeah, so definitely not a perfect performance from me. So many mistakes coming in. Pace certainly wasn't there. I didn't really practice too much. I wasn't too worried. If I got an F1 seat and I took Dirk Chocolate seat, I'm happy. But I also really enjoyed my season in F2 last season. So if I got relegated, I would have been happier. I would have been happy as well in F2. So I wasn't necessarily too worried coming into this, and didn't put a lot of pressure on myself. But no, it was fun, and just to kind of build upon as the race went on, and then happy just to secure it in that Bahrain race in F2.
Yeah, fantastic drive in Formula 2 for yourself. And to round it off with the promotion to Formula 1, we look forward to seeing you in Season 6, and potentially in that Red Bull seat as well.
Oh yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for joining. Well, that is everything from our drivers this evening. I'll pull Scott back in just very quickly. A fantastic afternoon of racing all round. 5 Grand Prix, 25% of course. And a lot of carnage, a lot of chaos, and some fantastic talking points as well. Scott, what was in 2 words, what were your highlights of this afternoon?
Las Vegas, because that was a very spicy. I'm sure there will be conversations going all over the Twitch scene and in the Discord about what that was, because obviously this was one of the first times in the Creator Series that we've actually put an elimination thing into it. Right? It's not just a season and you finish last or not. Like, there was consequences for every move today, and we got to see that. We got to see the highs. We got to see the lows. Very, very cool aspect. Very, very nice of the Creator Series to bring this playoffs thing in, and I think it's going to be very successful in the future.
Indeed it will. Tom, in yourself again, 2 words. How would you sum up your highlight of this afternoon?
Multiple winners. I think that's what it would be. I think going into this, I thought we would see certain drivers be a lot more comfortable than others, but the fact that we got 4 different winners in 5 races, Matty being the only repeat winner, I think that shows how close it was, how exciting it was throughout the whole thing. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it was a great addition to the series.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And for myself, I think I have to say wet races as my 2 words to sum up this evening. But yeah, that is going to be the end of our broadcast for this afternoon. Congratulations to the 4 that made it into Formula 1. Commiserations to those who got demoted down into Formula 2. Just quickly, before we finish though, Scott, if they want to find out more about yourself, where can they find you?
Yeah, lovely. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at F1 Scott, and it's just been a pleasure being my first season on board with the team, and it's been an absolute blast.
And Tom, same to yourself. If they want to find you after this broadcast, where can they do so?
Yeah, likewise. First series for me. Not massive on socials at the minute and everything, but hopefully build that up in the near future. On Twitter, it's just TW06. Hopefully start tweeting during race and things. Also do some other commentary stuff as well if you want to check that out.
Amazing. And if you want to check out me, I'm at the Mousemeister on 90% of things, or at TK on comms at Instagram. If you want to find out more about the Creator Series, including our WRC event hosted here on a Monday night, a fantastic night of a different class of racing, of course, do check that out on all our socials above. But for now, it's good night and God bless. And just a warning, the next advert does contain flashing images.